OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money and change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that shit change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
Attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the specified smoking areas.
Zach. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money and change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls while I got the moves that really move them. I sent chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. Are y'all ready to go? 2023 is not gonna know what hit it. Some of y'all thought we were fucking people up in 2022. You ain't seen shit yet. I make them shiver. Things get weak whenever I'm around to see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like they're God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. God, eat your heart out, girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody, and happy motherfucking New Year's. You survived another year, you heathen piece of dog shit. You, look at you. You have a whole new year to repent. Get down on your knees, blase, and the glavin noise, accept Jesus Christ into your heart, make him your new Lord and Savior, and turn your life all the way around, or your monkey ass can realize this is the year to accept that God doesn't exist. Sin's not real. There is no such thing as salvation. And it's time for your monkey ass to grow the fuck up. It's up to you, whatever you think is more your flavor of the year. Now, look, folks, we've got a lot to get into. There are so many things for us to talk about. But first, let's get things started. The late night crew is here. Sam is in the building. Oh, yes, Sam. It's 2023. It's time to leave all that 2022 soft shit in the motherfucking past where it belongs, and it is time to begin a new year of whoop ass. That is right. There are fires in this building. For some reason, Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, why aren't you back in the attic yet? I don't know. It's still here. Jewish space lasers in the building. The church bells are here. Liberty Bell is here. The Heartbreak Hotel sign is here. Let's get the fuck into this. Now, if y'all don't know the goddamn routine by now, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. But let's be real. You were not cool in grade school. You were not cool in middle school. You were not cool in high school, and if your monkey ass was lucky enough to attend some morally inferior university, obviously because it wasn't the one I attended, let's be real, you were all the way a part of the loser crowd when you were in college. So what did you do to survive? You faked it. You didn't know what to wear. You wore what everybody else was wearing. You didn't know what the cool music to listen to was. You listened to whatever the fuck your friends were listening to. You didn't know how to talk and what the lingo was, so you fucking faked it trying to make it, and you need to do the same thing here. If you don't know the routine by now, because you've been living under a fucking rock for the last 300 episodes, all right? Just fucking follow along and pretend. Act like you already knew. Now, please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Now, first, I gotta fake it like I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like I actually got the fucking shit ready to go. Restore. Give me my pages.
Dublin, and he's going to...
Give me my pages back. All right, here we go. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who fight for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. All right. New year, new music. Let's get into it. It's called the I Love You Mix by OG Roddy. It features two special shout outs to this guy named Jay. I don't know who that is. I hear he's super handsome. And rumor has it, he is the greatest genius to ever genius. But that's just the word on the street.
Whoa. That? Hey, what up? They know my campaign. Now they running up on Roddy like it's second place. They wanna know if I'm a prop or I'm the real plane. Landed in Austin and I even brought my own strain. Gang, yeah, fuck is they talking about? Link up with Freddie, got it booming cause it's Mo South. Then we hit the spot, my OG had it packed out. Getting love in every city, what it's all about. Facts, yeah, know when I'm back home. At the blueprint eating chicken with some bag.
The leaderboard has been reset. The economy has been reset. The prices have been reset. Carry in 10,000 pocket change for first.
Nike make the clothes, I run the give and go. Just ask the ones who fucking with me if you didn't know. They say the plane was always on it and he always gone. I love you. I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore. I love you.
5,000 for second.
I need you. What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I told Jay I'ma just stick to the code. He wished me well and told me how he been noticing growth. Told all my niggas down on Serato, let's get this dough. Figure of speech, I'm just saying my niggas gotta glow. Yeah, I thought I changed up, but in fact I just got better at the same stuff. Even when I was a minor, I was major. Independent, I remember how they played us. Yeah, you see it's funny though. See how everything changed, getting money, bro. Seen them even throwing shade when it's sunny though. On the plane, I ain't even in a lane though. Yeah, but I still be on the road. Head to toe on all my merch, I'm smoking at the shop. And they booking Henny too, I gotta bring my bro. Wonder if and when I stop, I tell them never know. I love you, I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore, but I love you.
Yes.
I need you.
Yes.
What What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I love you, I miss you, I need you in my life. Can't you see what you mean to me? Baby, come hold me tight. I miss you, wanna kiss you every time I see your face.
Let's go. All right, y'all, check it. This is how we gonna do it tonight. It's a big night. I promise you it's gonna be one of the, to me, I think this is gonna be one of the most fun shows we've ever done. It's New Year's. We're gonna have ourselves a good ass fucking time. We're gonna get into the program. We've got a story here, a bombshell story about the motherfucking Secret Service brought to us by none other than our girl Francesca and the motherfuckers we get down with on it daily. I'm talking about the Young Turks. Now, after this, folks, we are going to reveal the results of the Easter egg hunt from hell because thanks to you all, we have found Trump's documents. What? We found Trump's documents. Huh? We found Trump's documents. Sing it with me, y'all. We found Trump's documents. One time we found Trump's. Woo! We did it. We did it. We fucking did it. We did it. We did it. Shit. But yeah, seriously, good shit. So after this, I'm going to reveal what's going down and what happened. So stay tuned for that. That's after this first segment. Let's go ahead with our first story of the new year. For those of you that don't know, we are gathered at the ranch. You can come join us. Y'all know the vibes. We're serious. We're at 30 Myron Plaza in our Saturday Night Live theater, which we totally handcrafted and created ourselves, being the greatest geniuses to have ever geniused. And you can come join us if you want, but this shit is official. Yes, that's right. There's no fucking YouTuber in this community whose Saturday night set is this official because we do everything on some other shit. Tuck said it best. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing, and we are taking over the internet. And this is going to be our year. New World Order, atheist on top. Y'all already know.
The current president, sitting President Joe Biden, is actually very wary and mistrusting of his own Secret Service.
Damn.
And that is because of the Secret Service's behavior on January 6th, and because a lot of them were, in fact, loyalists to Donald Trump. So this is a new book called In the Fight of His Life, Inside Joe Biden's White House. Author Chris Whipple, writes that Mr. Biden's discomfort with the post-Trump era agency began early on in his presidency.
I am gonna hook my main man YouTube Punk up, man. I gotta hit YouTube Punk up with 100,000. And in the new economy, that's like huge. That's like being first 10 days in a row or for 10 days. That's a lot of pocket change right there. But in addition to being the prop master and all that, YouTube Punk ended up on top of the leaderboards on Twitch. And then as far as the chips and all that was concerned, there's no doubt that Carrie Ann Chrysler was running laps around y'all fools. So shout out to them. Every year we'll give away some shit at the end of the year to celebrate the people who were at the top. But we just getting started, man. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. And yeah, everybody, let's get it again. Start all over.
When it became clear that some of the agents charged with protecting him from assassination were strong supporters of the man he defeated in the 2020 election, former President Donald Trump. Mr. Biden's view is also a result of the increased size of the detail assigned to the chief executive, and suggested that the president shouldn't have been surprised by the presence of ex-MAGA sympathizers among bodyguards, because the Secret Service is full of white ex-cops from the South who tend to be deeply conservative.
Right.
Now, I I am not sure.
Look, we got to be honest, y'all. Part of the law enforcement problem we have in terms of all the systematic problems we have with law enforcement, and we're seeing the same thing in the military. Whereas, people are concerned that they're more loyal to Trump and whatever, he happens to want from them rather than the chain of command. But part of this is really the fact that we've glorified these cultures. It's very clear, what they're about, that they're disproportionately, not treating certain demographics of people well. And it's gonna disproportionately attract the type of people that, I hate to say it, are not the type of people you want in power and having a monopoly of force on people. And there is something that has to be dealt with there. The current police culture we have is toxic and really off the rails. And for somebody to grow up in a culture and for that to be our damn near universal experience of policing in this country, I'm not saying there aren't good apples in the bunch, but that's a bad apple patch. And you're probably not the best apple picker in the world if you're constantly growing them in substandard fields. So we might have to knock down the glorification of policing and our military a little bit. We might have to reinforce the mundane and core principles of these institutes, serve and protect and blah, 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 and that it isn't about running around in tanks and, policing football games and riot gear and shit like that. And maybe if we change the culture a little bit, we wouldn't have so many goddamn bad apples.
That is a direct quote of him saying they are full of white ex-cops from the South who tend to be deeply conservative. I believe that is from the book itself. But that to me is actually fairly chilling, that the sitting president knows that his security detail, we thought that like Sage would do the trick. You go up into the White House, just sage it all and change out the gold toilets or whatever. I got to unclog them first from all the secret documents that Trump flushed. But there was a lot of changing of the guards.
But we didn't flush those goddamn documents and you didn't burn them. Thanks, gang. I really appreciate that because we ended up in jail. So thanks. Yeah, thanks for not flushing the documents. Thanks for not putting the documents in the fireplace. Thanks for cooperating with our instructions to document the location of the documents so we could turn the documents over to the FBI. We really appreciate it. When we all wake up tomorrow in our virtual compound and we still have a virtual compound, that's because of you. That's because of you guys. Now, I don't know why you couldn't convince your president of that. I don't know why you guys can holler at your former president, Donald Trump, and tell him that he shouldn't be flushing and burning documents. But one step at a time, We'll get there.
But not necessarily some of these Secret Service agents. Dan, does that strike you at all?
That's so strange.
That we wouldn't,
really?
On the one hand, you don't want to, it's a bad habit.
It's almost like only a weird type of person who glorifies violence wants to take that job where all we know about it is that you get to go really top secret places with a cool gun and a really cool password. And then if somebody ever tries to take out the president, you get to jump in front of the bullet. Maybe we should, switch on up how we portray this type of gig.
To do what authoritarians do, which is getting rid of anyone who held the position under your predecessor, right? That's political purging, and that's actual political purging. But in this case, this is the agency charged with protecting the president. This is your security detail. It seems like you might want to do a little bit of purging.
I mean, yeah, you're right here, and I'm not gonna fault you for this, but let's not remember that Donald Trump did purging, right? So it's not purging to purge out the people who were brought in from the last purge, right?
Right, you unpurge the
Don't
purge.
belong it.
Yes, that's a double reverse repurge. That's a little card here. I keep it on me at all times just to be safe, But like,
He's a prop comic, y'all. He's a prop pundit.
It's really all I can do, because
You know what
we
I'm
know I'm
talking
not as
about?
funny as you. But like the ultimate like issue, like I'm not surprised. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that actually give it a little bit to like base dark Brandon here. That like, okay, good. That's Brandon gets a little like +2 black points for me because he
Why does
doesn't
he
trust
keep
even the cops
telling me
that
this
are
crap?
surrounding him. I feel good about that personally. I like a president who doesn't trust his cops. That's totally good. But no, like we know just that even quote from the beginning that is saying that, the Secret Service has presidential preferences or political preferences. And so that might put me in danger. That might like have a preference towards if I'm protected or not, if someone wants to stop a bullet for me or not. Like, that's ridiculous. We shouldn't have like, of course it's a given, it's accepted, especially in communities of color, that okay, the same institutions that are supposed to protect and serve us are largely biased against our very existence, sure. But to feel that at the very top level for like Joe Biden, who's like not the epitome of white privilege, but I mean like he's a white male Catholic like president, right? Like he wasn't even like the richest senator ever, right? But like for him to feel that kind of understanding because of political bias shows you that, like we're saying all the time, there's a deep-rooted cultural issue within the police that goes beyond the few bad apples trope. It's the fact that this continues to happen. The fact that, we all know Jeff, he's a pro-Trump guy and he definitely wouldn't take a bullet for old Brandon. But you know what? We love him. He brings in donuts every holiday. He's a good guy, right? He's good police, right? Like that's not the vibe. That's not what we should be doing for creating a better culture of policing. And
again, how many of us are doing the same thing in our community? We're like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so sitting on the most weaponized, vilely ignorant ideas in history of humanity, but they did smile at me that one time. And they do say hello when they start their streams. And at the end of the streams, they say, good night, everybody. And I hope to see you next time. And I just have to tell them that I think they're the most wonderful person to ever person. And I'm like, no, stop. Call them and tell them you disagree with them, you think they're a liar, and you wish they'd stop lying. Oh, and by the way, Happy New Year.
Even that goes up to the Secret Service.
I mean, and then you're hitting on, I think, not the main takeaway and the place we need some real introspection and protection on January 6th, which is how to protect democracy, but it's about law enforcement. I mean, again, I said it before. Can we talk about blue on blue crime? Huh? Can we talk about all the cops that were insurrectionists who were, again, bludgeoning Capitol police officers with the American flag or with the Trump flag? So like this, you put your finger on it, Dan. It is really about policing generally. It is about who is protecting and who is serving. Are they being properly vetted? What is their background? And if their background is, I mean, honestly, like if it is just in policing, and then that's not always a good thing. Right?
And here's the deal where we're not being honest about what certain ideologies mean. If somebody walked up to you and was like, yo, I'm one of the Proud Boys, we'd be like, red flag. If somebody walked up to you and be like, yo, I'm KKK, you down? I'd be like, nope, absolutely not. For some reason, when somebody walks up to you and is like, yeah, I'm Republican, ride or die, like nothing anybody could do ever would make me vote blue. Yeah, matter of fact, I watched the last president, the Republican one, literally try to destroy democracy. And for the red team, yeah. And now I'm actually charged to protect and serve the president from the blue team. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm still on the red team. I'm sorry, red flag. Red flag. Red flag, timeout, stop, red flag. What? You wanna work on the Secret Service and protect and you're still on team insurrectionists? No, I'm sorry, you gotta go. Nope, sorry, you gotta go. And look, y'all can say, Jay, but then you're gonna end up with all Democrats. I don't give a shit, I don't care, I don't care anymore. Your lack of personal growth is no longer my problem. If your lack of personal growth means my painting is now monotone, then y'all should have given me some better colors to paint with. Sorry. Not sorry. Oh, you're a Christian? Red flag. What? Oh, you never noticed. You never noticed that all that time spent on your knees praying, you might have just been talking to yourself? You never noticed that. You didn't notice how the Christians are on the wrong side of every scientific issue ever? You missed that? Did you miss the part when churches became mass spreader events during the pandemic and they just kept going to church? You didn't notice that? You didn't notice? Oh, you didn't notice how we got the vaccine and then the religious people wouldn't take it? You didn't notice that? Oh, when they stormed the Capitol for the insurrection, you didn't know how they had Jesus flags? You didn't notice that? Oh, you didn't notice? Oh, but you did notice how many times last week the 19-year-olds touched their penis and watched porn because you put an accountability app on their phone that basically has surveillance. Small government, small enough to fit in your pants. Now, Billy, you know I get an alert every time you go to Pornhub, Billy. Now, Billy, we prayed on this, Billy, right? Y'all are all over top of somebody's dick, but you didn't notice that your Christianity cult is on the wrong side of every issue ever. No, sorry, red flag. I don't want you around me. Nah, you can't protect me. You can't protect me. I didn't say we can't be neighbors. I said you can't fucking protect me. You want to protect me, you need to have both feet on the ground at all times.
Right? Or if they're veterans, that's not always a good thing. What were they a part of abroad, right? Like and it is political. I mean, again, to say that it's not a politicized job or it can't be, is like, again, saying that the Supreme Court is, they're bipartisan or they're nonpartisan.
Exactly.
Lol, right? Like we all know that's not true. So anyway, the reason that Biden would be concerned, obviously, just going back, Whipple explains it in his book. He explained that the agency had looked both incompetent and politicized by the failures of the agents on Mr. Trump's detail to retain and turn over text messages from 5 and 6 from the 5th and 6th of January 21, the day before the Capitol attack and the day of the attack itself.
Anybody looking for a great right-wing troll account name in 2023, Secret Service text messages is the way to go.
It was also one of Mr. Trump's own appointees, the DHS Security Inspector General Joseph Kufari, who had asked agents for the messages and who had later told Congress that all but a single message had been irretrievably lost, while the Secret Service, ordinarily world-renowned for its technical abilities, claimed the deletions were a result of a, quote, migration during scheduled mobile device upgrades. Who's believing that?
Nobody.
That was one of my favorite stories to come out of the whole thing. I remember it's like, oops, we just happened to be doing this thing during the exact time where we want a lot of evidence, where we were clearing data, and we happen to know we were doing this and don't have backups. Whoopsie darn it. That's just, it happens.
It's
sorry,
just like,
Dan,
I'm sorry our body camera's on while we were beating down niggers. It's just bad timing.
When you update your phone, like when you move to like a whatever, you upgrade it, like it immediately erases all of your text messages.
Yeah, doesn't back it up at all. No company has figured that out. No. It's weird.
It's very strange. But yeah, so this is obviously, we could go into Secret Service has a long history. I don't know if you guys remember the night in Colombia. There was some strip club action happening. There was this was all under former President Obama. They got a shady past, so this is not the first time.
Check out the Daily Report podcast.
Now, in case you've been living under a rock or in a tomb and the angels or the little boys or the women with the spices or the Roman soldiers who failed to roll that son of a bitch away, your former president, Donald Trump, stole a bunch of classified documents that had no business ever leaving whatever fucking secret fucking location they were in. Y'all know I can't keep track with all these government acronyms. The Secret Intelligence Bureau Committee of First Order of Importance security details, shit you shouldn't share with foreign countries, that you're only supposed to view in the scuff, the skiff, the riff, the piff, I don't know, the secure location where, you know, the only place, there's one place you're supposed to see the shit, and they didn't see the shit there, but they stole the shit, and then they burned a bunch of the shit, but then a bunch of the other shit that they didn't burn, they took out of the White House. And then now it's been found in Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach Springs, Trump's summer house in Wisconsin, Trump's summer house in Barbados, Trump's summer house in Nicaragua, Trump's summer house inside Kim Jong-un's summer house, Trump's summer house inside of Putin's summer house. Y'all know, all the usual spots. So I'm not going to name any names because I don't know who did it. But somebody out there in YouTube land betrayed our trust. Definitely one of the right-wing fuckface theotards, let's face it. And somehow Trump's motherfucking documents ended up in our motherfucking gather. Yep, sounds ridiculous. Did you think it was a joke? Yeah, I did too. But when you get a letter from the FBI, you tend to take these things rather seriously. I ran it up the poll, not that poll, the metaphorical poll, to legal. I was like, is this legit? They were like, looks legit. Y'all should look for the documents. I was like, yo, y'all should look for the documents. We started looking for the documents. We started finding the documents. All of a sudden, holy shit, we knew this was real. We got to turn over these documents. So there were 11 locations. And thanks to all of you and your sleuth stealth work, we have found all 11 locations. And so I will now be able to reveal to you guys the locations of Trump's motherfucking documents. All right, let's see what the fuck we got here. All right, you sign in to gather, you go in to gather. I'm gonna pull up the stuff I've got back here, make sure I show you everywhere. Let's start at our home, or sorry, I shouldn't say our home office, our virtual compound, this is the headquarters. All right. Oh, shit, that's where we're at. All right, gang, I'll be right back. Stay here. If you're on stage, I'll be back. Boops, boops, boops. All right, so what you do, let's respawn. That'll take you to where you go when you first get here. All right. Now, let's see. Virtual office, beautiful, lovely, everything's wonderful. Oh, shit! Oh, shit. It really is that time. I told y'all this shit crazy. I told y'all this is not a fucking joke. I did not know the fucking FBI was here. Bang. There's location number 1. Boom. There it is. Motherfucking Trump. And look at all that blank ass paper. You know that's probably about 2.5 years worth of Trump's presidency right there. You know? Just god damn. How the fuck did this shit get in here? All right, come back inside. Where else is there? We got to go up to the roof. Boom. Location number 2. There you see it. There you see it. I told you we weren't fucking around. More goddamn Trump's documents. The FBI's 4 minutes late. The FBI is not fucking around. When they said y'all have till December 31st, them motherfuckers meant December 31st. When they said we'll be here January 1st, them niggas meant we will be here January 1st. They was not playing. All right. That's number 3. Boom. There you go. There you see it, folks. So those were 3 locations where the motherfuckers tried to fucking hide Trump's documents in our motherfucking compound. And you can see the FBI is here to collect. God damn. All right, I'm gonna take myself back to the stage. This is how y'all get to the Saturday Night Live stage. You gotta go into the Pinochle Lounge, and then you head to the stage. Boom. All right, that was Myronbot's screen, and then I'll share the other screen. Oh yeah, I'm not sharing that screen yet. All right. All right. So I'll show you guys next. Got some more locations. All right. I'll be back. All right. Next, I'll show you guys the beach. All right. The beach is where you should lurk overnight. This is where they sleep. Everybody sleeps in their little tents. This is my tent. I'm taking my tent. See, we all got our little tents. My tent set up. It's got a little pinochle. Got some Tetris. Got my Pomodoro timer for when I'm working. I got all my little games. Got some pool. All right, that's my little tent. Everybody's got tents. This is the beach. All right, so let's see, where's Trump's documents? I think there's 2 locations here. All right. All right, this is where we hang out and do our overnights when we're on the beach. That's the beach bar. There you go. Future site of Bundy Ranch. That's right. We're gonna, once they foreclose on this Mar-a-Lago and lock Trump up, we've been thinking about putting a little bid in, putting a little offer in. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you. I kind of like that Trump suite. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The outdoor dining. You know what I mean? Trump ain't gonna have Mar-a-Lago for long the way he going. Look, man. Y'all don't understand, man. The compound envy amongst ministers is very real. You can't go anywhere near Ken Hovind without him bragging about, I got 40 acres, this, and then. So I got to put a little something on his ass. If I take Mar-a-Lago, y'all know I hate the right-wing fuckfaces, but the right-wing fuckfaces think that place is like fucking Valhalla. So if we were to fucking take that shit over, they'd be all types of jealous. Oh, yeah. Boom. There it is. There's another one. Yes, Trump. Those fucking documents. I hope they're swirling around your head, giving you fucking nightmarish dreams, motherfucker. All right. Then we've got the Flying Man University. What are you talking about, Gather? All right. Boom. All right. All right, so one was found in the chancellor's office, which whoever did that, go fuck yourself. Put it in my office. Put it in the chancellor's office so it definitely looks like I'm shady and corrupt as fuck. I see that. I see what you did there. Put it in the chancellor's office so I get fucked personally, huh? That's how you know it's personal. Whoever did this is fucking personal because they put the shit in my office. I'm sitting there going, I had no idea. I don't know. What do you mean? It's a fucking semester break. How the fuck am I supposed to know somebody stuck in and put them shits? But of course, if I didn't turn them over and then the FBI raids the fucking place, they find them in my office. I'm sitting there going, I had nothing to do with this. And then I look like a fucking asshole. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Boom. No one is above the law. Yeah, I don't even know why Trump was hiding that one, but I think he was hiding it because, like so many other things, it's basically mens rea. It's basically acknowledged. Once they see that he had this document that said no one's above the law in his possession, they'll know that he knew that no one was above the law and all his immunity claims were bullshit. So maybe that's why he's hiding that one. Who the fuck knows? I'm not considering trying to psychologize a fucking psychopath. Duh, obviously psychology doesn't make any fucking sense, so I'm not considering apply logic to it. That would be stupid. All right, let's do the residence. All right. Something was found at the residence. This is where you enter the residence. You can go back to the ranch from there. All right, it's the Bundy residence. It's like our mansion. Boom, what's down here? Boom. Fucking Trump's documents is what's down here. As you can see, putting this together was about the most work that ever happened in that fucking White House. This is so good. Oh, man. All right, so that's there in the residence. I got to explore all these places, man. We got all sorts of shit, man. But look, for all you right-wingers out there, the next time y'all try that shit, let me just remind you of something. Let me just remind you of something. Stop fucking around, all right? All right, see that? You see that? You see that? All right, you need to stop fucking around with my place. You're lucky I ain't take this shit that serious. You're lucky I ain't come after you this time. Now stop fucking around. Next time somebody come up here unauthorized, I'm gonna fucking defend this place. Fucking around with me. Obama. You know what I'm talking about? Obama. Commander-in-chief of this motherfucking Bundy Ranch. I'm playing around. All right. And then one was found at the Church of the Flying Man. Yeah, they definitely got to get the gats next time. Yeah. They done left shit in the office, in our home, in our beach, in our church. You know, those of y'all that are new, yeah, we got a church, man, the Church of the Flying Man. Look, we're a cult. What do you think cults do? Cults have fucking businesses and shit that they got to take care of. We have two of them. We have a church. Duh, we're a cult. Obviously, we have a church. And we run a university, Flying Man University, duh, obviously. And, you know, little business ventures from here and there, like Word Wrestling Entertainment. All right, it's kind of creepy down here. Yeah, I see why I don't do many streams. Whoa! Don't worry, y'all. Once you give your life to Myron, you're immune to the fires of hell. Boom! They tried to put this motherfucking traitor's entire presidential library up in our hell. Oh, they didn't think we could handle the heat. They had to put on some kind of crazy ass suits to get down here, I bet. And then they figured since they can't handle the heat, we can't handle the heat. They don't know, man. Once you give your life to the spirit of doubt and you let Myron into your heart and you understand that Myron flied for your sins, bro, them fires in hell don't burn you, bro. The hell is just somewhere you just come through, a little sightseeing, you know what I'm saying? Wave to all your Christian family that failed God's IQ test, then keep it moving. But boom, there you have it, folks. All 11 of the locations for Trump's documents. I want to thank y'all so much for finding them and for getting on it. Really appreciate all the effort everybody put into it. And I'm going to announce the results. So in first place, and I'm going to give out 100,000 pocket change for first place, is Melody Joy, who not only is the first, but the only person to find all 11 locations. All right. So thank you so much, Melody. Let me give you points here. Melody Joy. Yeah, Melody Joy was first. All right. And then in second place with 9 locations is Joel Hadaway. I haven't seen Joel. I could always give him pocket change later. Oh, there's Joel's name. I think he's in Gather with me too. Let me just copy it here. All right, we're going to do 50 for Joel. Yeah, Melody saved our ass for sure. All right. And in third place was Look at the Trees, who found 6 locations. So really appreciate that. I don't see Trees in the chat, so I'll make sure that I give them pocket change next time I see them, because I have to have them in the chat to award them. But also, there are 6 people who found at least one location. And so I'm going to add a bonus, and I'm going to give everybody 70,000 pocket change, because, like I said, I want to give it like a multiplier. So I want to give a multiplier for everybody that sent me at least one. There was 7 people. Hey, man! That.
This makes sense!
Yeah, so there's 70,000 for everybody. Also, we have 100 messages in the chat already. Some of that's obviously from earlier because this is our second, we did 2 streams today or whatever. I don't know how they're doing this. But anyway, oh no, I think it reset. So man, we've had 100 chats probably in the last hour or so. But anyway, here's 10,000 pocket change to everybody for the live chat accomplishment. Thank you all so much for being super active in the live chat. And looks like everybody's well on their way in the new year to having plenty of pocket change. And seriously, thank you guys so much for participating in this. One of the things that's, it does help with, of course, is people getting in here, getting familiar with Gather, getting the lay of the land, and starting to understand how those different spaces are laid out. It's unfortunate that it had to happen under these circumstances, but maybe we'll come up with some more actual fun, voluntary things to do in the future that help people get in here and explore the gather spaces. And of course, I want to send a huge shout out to AR, who really took care of this, because AR takes care of a lot of the building stuff and a lot of the facilities and a lot of the spaces and gathers, like our property manager. And so, you know, when I first found out this was legit and I was freaking out, AR kind of calmed me down. He said, Jay, just have everybody look for them. When they find them, have them document the locations, forward it along to me. I'll take care of it. So I assume AR has been, you know, back and forth with the FBI, and that now that we've documented the locations, AR and the FBI will get to taking care of things and getting it out of here. But we definitely want to send a huge shout out to AR for helping out with that. Super thankful. I was actually quite worried. We only had a couple days left and it was looking a little dicey, and I ain't gonna lie to you. It was looking a little dicey, but in the last couple of days, people really stepped up in terms of really making sure that we found all the locations. So thank you guys so much for helping out with that. Really grateful to all of you. And yeah, let's go ahead and we'll take another quick cheers here. Appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much for your help. Cheers to you all. Happy New Year. Go ahead, if you would like to share your New Year's resolution, go ahead and do it. Y'all already know my New Year's resolution. This New Year's, it's all about the New World Order, atheist on top. This is the year. I'm trying to be very clear. Yes, I think you should stop being religious. Yes, I think you should stop being a Christian. When do I think you should do it? Now. What do we want? Deconversion. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Deconversion. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Deconversion. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Deconversion. When do we want it? Now. That is what we're about this year. That's my New Year's resolution to you. It's basically, y'all already know me. I'm stepping up my game and conducting high-level symphonies of violence towards theism.
Secret that Donald Trump's third presidential campaign is clearly not off to a good start. He hasn't done a single event since he announced he was running for president on November 15th. Hasn't done any speeches. He's done a couple little things at Mar-a-Lago. You know, basically people are having events there anyway, and he kind of shows up and hijacks the microphone for a bit. But beyond that, he really hasn't even left Mar-a-Lago. He just goes and he plays golf every day, and he comes back and he rants and raves on Truth Social. So, how do you save a failing campaign? He's getting killed in the polls, right? Ron DeSantis is now mopping the floor with him. President Biden in head-to-head matchups, destroying Donald Trump. The guy's got no chance in hell of becoming president again. But don't you worry, his aides, those people that are working on this campaign. And before I tell you their plan, let's also remember Donald Trump has decided to not hire a campaign manager. He doesn't want anybody really telling him what to do. He hasn't hired competent people. He's just brought in a bunch of yes men and yes women.
Now, gang, that ties into a story we covered yesterday, which is the sort of hint. Somebody basically wrote a story about him potentially starting a third party. Maybe it's on Truth Social or whatever. I guess he liked it. But this is the sort of information you need to fill in that picture. If he hasn't hired a competent campaign manager, setting aside the fact of whether or not he would even need to start a third party, it's not happening without him hiring a whole bunch of very, very serious people.
So I tell you that to tell you this. They believe According to Guardian reporter Hugo Lowell, some of those advisors.
Sorry, if any of you are not clear what I'm talking about, let me be very clear. Donald Trump is not going to do that paperwork himself, right? Donald Trump's worse than Kanye. Remember last time Kanye ran for president, his name only ended up on the ballot in 12 states because he's a fucking asshole and he shouldn't have ran to begin with, and it was all a fucking joke. Well, that's the type of shit we're seeing with Trump. So he hasn't hired a serious campaign manager. Well, then he doesn't have a serious campaign. And if he's even flirting with the idea of starting a third party, he needs to hire some very, very serious people because, again, he's just not gonna do the paperwork himself, obviously.
And aides believe that the best thing that could happen to Donald Trump right now would be if he gets indicted by the U.S. Department of Justice. They think an indictment might be the only thing that can save this campaign. Now, plenty of aides working for Donald Trump think the exact opposite, right? They're the ones who are like, please do not let this man get indicted. Let's not get a picture of him in handcuffs. We sure as hell don't need a mugshot floating around. We know that that's bad for the campaign because we're not idiots. But then you have the other folks at the campaign who say, "Oh boy, I sure hope the police come knocking on that door in Mar-a-Lago because that's going to send us straight up in the polls." The worst part is they may not be wrong.
Carrie Lake.
If Donald Trump were hauled away from Mar-a-Lago in handcuffs, or if he was forced to go to a local police department, turn himself in to be processed if he gets indicted, one of those two things would have to happen, by the way, if he gets indicted. His base is going to rally around him, right? We will see that happen. But outside of that base, like 95% of the country is going to look at that as a terrible thing that is effectively a death nail in his coffin, right? We probably don't want to support somebody who's currently facing criminal charges. Somebody who has to go to trial and could end up in prison. Not exactly the kind of person we want at the top of the ticket. So yes, it will galvanize his base. That's undeniable. But for the normal people out here in America, whether you're just a normal independent voter, whether you're a normal Republican, having a candidate that is under indictment isn't exactly the kind of thing you want to see on the ballot. So the group of aides who say, no, we don't want an indictment, they are right. The ones who think this will send his campaign skyrocketing up the polls.
All right, hang on a sec. They can't hear me and gather. Thanks, Joel. Probably just needs to be refreshed. Sometimes it conflicts because I jumped into the other one. Joel, can you hear me and gather now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
They're the idiots. Because he'll get a quick...
Hang on, I have to mute my bot. Sorry about that.
Immediate bounce, but only from his base. But even that isn't going to last long because that base is actually still getting smaller by the day.
This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know...
That is wild. And the fact that there's even people around him that are thinking that way, to me, y'all already know. It just shows you how off the rails they are. But it speaks to a very particular aspect of the Donald Trump problem, which is the sort of ends justify the mean. The willingness to set aside all ethics to pull off stunts. The fact that these people don't do strategy, they don't do policy, they don't do programs, they just do stunts. They do stunts, they do trolling, they do events, they do rallies, they do culture war, but it all boils down to stunts. You see this with DeSantis. You see this with Santos and all his lies. You see this with Greg Abbott sending buses full of immigrants to the vice president's houses. Everything they do, Boebert, Green, fucking the fuckface with the fist, Cawley, Josh Hawley, the whole gang. Fuckface Ted Cruz. I mean, stunt. I might as well run for office like this, like just from here. What am I gonna do? Nah, I'm not gonna move to DC. Nah, you gonna wear a suit? Nah. I'm just gonna do stunts. Look at me. Look at the me. That's it. This is the Republican platform. Look at the me. That's it. That's their policy. You're not convinced yet? Because if you're not convinced, I could go get a boob job. I could make my boobs bigger. You're not convinced yet? I could trigger the left some more. You're not convinced yet? I was just maybe like, maybe we have some issues with election integrity. If I go full QAnon, will you be convinced then? Look at the me. Seriously, it's just stunts. But here's something for the ass though. Something else that dropped tonight that just felt like tickling my booty hole. That just wanted to get me all dressed up with no place to go. It's the new year, so we can't start the new year off without some false hope up in this bitch. Without telling me things, you're gonna have me up at night dreaming of you, right? And I don't know if it's gonna happen, but look, check it out. Go ahead. What if Trump's team really does lean into him getting indicted? Because apparently Jamie Raskin, because when the politicians get on it, then they go, you go, right? Because they probably lying. It's probably horse shit. But Jamie Raskin's a constitutional law professor, I believe. I think he's got a lot of legal experience, maybe even some prosecutorial experience. So when Jamie Raskin starts talking about the law, I'm listening. And Jamie Raskin is normally like pretty modest, pretty reserved. He doesn't really like jump the gun. And, Raskin's not the type to just tell you some shit he don't really believe. He's not the type to sensationalize things. But I think the nigga might be trying to give me blue balls, y'all. Seriously, because listen. Jamie Raskin apparently is trying to make super stunning predictions about the potential for Donald Trump not to go to jail, y'all, not to be indicted or arrested, but to face some serious time, some serious time, y'all. Don't tease me like this, Mr.
I'm Ben
Raskin.
Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network. Democratic member of Congress Jamie Raskin, who was one of the leaders on the January 6th committee, just gave an interview on a podcast called Skullduggery. It's a Yahoo podcast. And in this podcast, Jamie Raskin predicted that Donald Trump will spend the rest of his days in prison behind bars. He suggests possibly with Secret Service there, although it will be an issue of first impression where Secret Service would actually be positioned when Donald Trump is behind bars for the rest of his life. Let me play this clip of Jamie Raskin from this podcast called Skullduggery, and then we'll talk about it at the end of the clip. Play the video.
And I'm very serious about him facing the consequences and, paying for the costs of his actions. It's just that I think that's not the only thing here. And, he could spend the remaining days of his misanthropic life behind bars, presumably with Secret Service agents, some of whom, might belong with him there. I don't know. But
how does that work? Do Secret Service agents protect him inside the prison that he might be sentenced to?
like everything else with Donald Trump, it's a case of first impression. I mean, would they be standing outside the bars or would they be inside the bars? Who knows? But the point is that, like, that fundamentally now is not going to address the primitive forces of authoritarianism, racism, anti-Semitism that Donald Trump has unleashed in the country.
It should also be noted that Jamie Raskin, prior to becoming a member of Congress, was a constitutional law scholar, a constitutional law teacher, deeply, deeply educated on the Constitution. And so his words resonate extra.
Okay, I said maybe prosecutor. I don't know if he's ever been a prosecutor, so somebody could check me on that. But just something I wanted to point out, that this is no longer a slip of the tongue. This is either a phrase that Jamie Raskin is strategically giving voice to because it is genuinely his opinion that this is some kind of likelihood, or he's maybe trying to, in his own way, push that narrative to sort of get people ready for the reality of the situation from his perspective. And either would be valid and important, right? One, as a member of the January 6th committee, with the type of, constitutional expertise that everybody knows he has, it's very important for him to make this clear. And one thing I want to emphasize is, again, this is not a slip of the tongue. This is actually the second time I've heard him say this. He said this repeatedly. He said this other night on TV. So this is now a Jamie Raskin talking point. It's not something that slipped out in an interview. It's something he's now repeated. So it's either because, he really is convinced it's going to happen. I mean, to me, either way, he's kind of convinced it's going to happen. But one is, to me, okay, this is just his straight up prediction. And the other is he maybe feels like in his role, as a congressman, as a congressional leader, as a, member of the January 6th committee, he's just trying to tell people, from a technical perspective, this is very much something that's legally on the table. Either way, he's definitely taking this possibility very seriously. And call me a sucker, but I'm a little bit enchanted myself with this being a serious possibility.
Extra powerfully here as well. And really 2 points that Jamie Raskin brings up here in the interview, and let's just address both of them. The first point he brings up is that Donald Trump is directly responsible for the January 6th insurrection and should face consequences, including being in prison for the rest of his life. Obviously, the January 6th committee made 4 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Special counsel Jack Smith has at least 2 grand juries now impaneled in Washington, D.C. federal court, where subpoenas had been flying over the past month to different state election officials, local election officials, in connection with the January 6th insurrection grand jury. And there's also the grand jury relating to Donald Trump's theft of thousands of government records, including top secret, sensitive, compartmented information that Donald Trump hid and concealed at Mar-a-Lago and potentially elsewhere. And so the January 6th committee released its final report, 845 pages.
Victory, victory.
Uh-oh, somebody making it rain already.
Covering here on the Midas
Carrie Ann
Network,
is
and I would
starting
tell all of
early
you,
and
go
often.
and watch all of the videos we've done where we've been analyzing the deposition testimony of witnesses that the January 6th committee has taken. And we started, of course, with the first batch. These were were all the traitors in Donald Trump's inner circle who all invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to answer questions. People like Roger Stone and Mike Flynn, who were communicating with Mark Meadows at the Willard Hotel leading up to and during the January 6th insurrection, when they were asked questions by the January 6th committee like, do you believe there should be fascist coups in the United States of America? Roger Stone and Mike Flynn would answer the question, I must most respectfully invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, and they would refuse to answer. Then you had people like Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes and Kelly Ward, who chairs the Republican Party in Arizona, who all invoke their Fifth Amendment rights on the most basic questions like, where do you live and are you a part of this organization? And you'll recall these are like the biggest blowhards in the world who go to the rallies and speak in the right-wing echo chamber. I mean, you've got Kelly Ward at the rally that took place, one of the dwindling Trump rallies over the summer, when she was like, I'm ultra mega, we are all part of the orange mafia, who's with me? And then when she's asked questions, I invoke the Fifth Amendment, I invoke the Fifth Amendment. So there was that batch of records. But then we get to see the depositions of people who spoke to the January 6th committee, people who were courageous, like Cassidy Hutchinson, people who were less courageous, like McEntee, the who was in Trump's inner circle at the time, who worked for, who was Donald Trump's, bag carrier or whatever, and who was involved in a lot of the termination.
That's right, y'all. We got to shill the channel hard this year. Don't forget, in our Discord, we have basically a wish list of people you'd like to see me collaborate with. Let's really get some names on there, and then let's work hard to make those collaborations happen. The game plan is simple. Identify content creator, leave comments on all of their videos. Not one person, not one video. Don't be like, oh, YouTube punk will take care of it. No. If it's like the cumulative effect, y'all already know. If 2 people leave a message, they go, oh, okay, sure. If 3 or 4 people leave a message on their video, they go, oh, okay, like, who's this Pocket Locker guy? If 5 or 6 people leave a message on their video, like, yo, you should really work with Pocket Locker 86, they're like, all right, I should probably work with this Pocket Locker 86 guy. If that happens on, like, most of their videos or, like, all of their videos, eventually they're just going to work with me. They're going to be like, yo, Pocket Locker 86, we got to do something just so your people will leave me the fuck alone and stop harassing me every time I make a video. And I'm like, yeah, I got good people. We teach them well. We train them well.
Of people like,
we're taking over the internet. We're not here to make friends.
The Trump administration, which you get terminating people like the Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, replacing him with Christopher Miller, so that really Kash Patel could become the chief of staff to the Secretary of Defense and basically run the Defense Department. How scary is that? And to stop things like the National
it's in
Guard.
Discord. We got to get you in the Discord, Carrie Ann.
January 6th insurrection. But from the deposition testimony, we're seeing more and more things like they were like burning all of these records at the White House. There were PowerPoint presentations that were being delivered about the coup. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene bragging about how QAnon was going to show up at the January 6th insurrection. That was some of the things that were revealed in the deposition testimony. And so very compelling information. Also, Mark Meadows' communications with individuals.
Somebody has an open mic and gather. I'm not sure who it is. But if you're... All right, there we go. Great. Thanks.
Inside the Willard Hotel. And obviously, Mark Meadows is going to be a major target of the Department of Justice's.
All right, gang. One's in the chat if you think Mark Meadows is going to flip on Donald Trump. Put a 1 in the chat if you think at the end of the day, Mark Meadows flips on Donald Trump. 2, if you think he goes down without flipping on his boss.
investigation of special counsel Jack Smith's investigation. Mark Meadows stopped cooperating with the January 6th committee after turning over a batch of text records. He sued the January 6th committee, ended up losing that, but basically running out the clock. But he's not going to run out the clock on special counsel Jack Smith, who likely already has the other text messages and all of the other emails from Mark Meadows at this point. And I would be shocked if Mark Meadows is currently not cooperating in lieu of his own prosecution, which I think Mark Meadows could easily be tried and convicted of seditious conspiracy and spend the rest of his days. So I think he knows that. I think he's cooperating with the Department of Justice. And so
look what he said. Look what he said. Like, tell me again.
But basically running out the clock. But he's not going to run out the clock on special counsel Jack Smith, who likely already has the other text messages and all of the other emails from Mark Meadows at this point. And I would be shocked if Mark Meadows is currently not cooperating in lieu of his own prosecution, which I think Mark Meadows could easily be tried and convicted of seditious conspiracy and spend the rest of his days. So I think he knows that. I think he's cooperating.
Mark Meadows testifies, I'm going to be like, there is an atheist God and they love me.
Department of Justice. And so look, 2023, I have a great degree of confidence will be a year that Donald Trump is held accountable. We have the right person for the job, special counsel Jack Smith, who is engaged in the investigation. All of the right steps are being taken, and the confidence you're seeing there from Jamie Raskin that Trump will spend the rest of his days in prison is reflective of the confidence that I think most legal scholars, most legal observers feel right now. And I know there was the Mueller letdown. By the way, Mueller had about 30 plus indictments, including Donald Trump's top campaign advisor, Paul Manafort, including the former national security.
If it comes down to covering his own ass is number one. If he wants to cover his own ass, he doesn't snitch. You think, if he wants to cover his own ass, he snitches. That's one. But yeah.
Advisor Mike Flynn, all people who Donald Trump pardoned, linking them with direct communications and direct contacts with the highest level of officials in Russia, either convicted or pled guilty. Trump, of course, pardoned them all. You don't get higher connections than like the main Russian ambassador who Mike Flynn covered up communications with and then ultimately pled guilty to. But ultimately, Mueller did not indict Donald Trump. He relied on these norms that you can't indict sitting presidents. That doesn't exist right now.
I see.
Special counsel Jack Smith is very different than Mueller. Donald Trump is not a sitting president. Donald Trump does not have immunity, despite Donald Trump being so desperate. We see him posting on his social media platform, I have absolute immunity. He does not have absolute immunity at all. And I think special counsel Jack Smith will indict Donald Trump before the summer. There are some legal observers, very, very, very well respected legal observers like Preet Bharara, who was a former United States attorney in New York, who believes Trump will be indicted in January. My timeline is a little further out. I think we're looking more April, May, June, but we will see. But there's a great degree of confidence that justice is coming and the wheels of justice moving in the right direction. So that was part one of what Jamie Raskin said. But part two is equally important and also alarming, which is that Donald Trump created.
I mean, sometimes they're like rotation of the earth. You can't feel them when they're turning slow, but often moving indeed they are.
This fascist movement, and Trump may have been stopped, but this MAGA extremist fascism is a major, major problem. And look, one of the things we see in the January 6th committee report, as Donald Trump fashioned himself as a Mussolini, is Trump wanted this military procession. Go check out, we did a whole nother video on this. To use National Guards, use 10,000 National Guard troops, not to protect the Capitol, but as a procession when he would walk into the Capitol with the insurrectionists to overthrow our democracy. That's what Trump was thinking about with these 10,000 National Guardsmen, because we also know from Christopher Miller and his testimony before the January 6th committee, that's the acting Secretary of Defense at the time, that Donald Trump never made an order. There was never an order ever made about 10,000 National Guard troops to protect protect the Capitol building at all. But that 10,000 National Guard number was actually Trump floating that in his inner circle about the procession he wanted when he wanted to topple our democracy. And that's in the January 6th committee report. And it comes from witness statements of people who Donald Trump said stuff like that to. And by the way, they'll be called as witnesses in special counsel Jack Smith's potential future criminal trial against Donald Trump. But talking about the fascism, talking about this MAGA movement that Donald Trump created, it is incredibly important in 2023 for us to combat that with media networks like this at the Midas Touch Network. Because you have the pro-fascist media, which injects disinformation into people's veins every single day. They do the work purely for MAGA fascism, for authoritarianism, frankly, for Russia. It clearly appears. It's my opinion that it clearly appears to be that way. And sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is the one. Why are they saying all these things to destroy America? Because they want to destroy America. That's what MAGA fascists want to do. They don't want democracy. They don't like law and order. That's why when Donald Trump steals thousands of government records, they go, let's abolish laws on espionage. Let's abolish the FBI. Let's abolish the Department of Justice to permit a lawless authoritarian to steal nuclear secrets and to steal top secret classified records that places our military in peril because they want to destroy our country. Occam's razor, the simplest explanation. But the both sides media, the large media, both sides of it are just like, well, here's a Democrat, here's a Republican, these are liberals, these are conservative.
Exactly.
People like Mike Flynn, they're very conservative. They're not conservative.
You hear
They're
that?
fascist. They're extremists, and we need to call it out. We need to use the right language.
Paul?
We need to push back. We need to push as hard as we did in the midterms every single day in 2023, and we need to fight for the truth. We need to fight for our democracy. We need to support our Constitution. We need to do that by making sure our justice system works, by making sure we have federal judges who enforce law and order, who support our Constitution. And we need to talk about and expose the MAGA fraud, the extremism that's taking place every single day. Marjorie Taylor Greene, not a fringe character anymore in the MAGA party. For all purposes, she's running MAGA House Republicans. The House Republicans, Kevin McCarthy's a proxy, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is really running the show, and they want to do things like book burning, and they want you to focus and get really angry about things like Mr. Potato Head and pronouns.
Those
and
are the
want to
good
attack
guys,
teachers,
y'all.
and they want to do all of these things so they can pick your pocket, redistribute wealth
I mean,
to
Chuck
the
Schumer's just as
billionaires
bad,
and the
right?
fascist MAGA grifting movement. Meanwhile,
What
we
a
need to
joke.
focus on the
I love
real
how
issues.
people act
that
like I
matter.
don't know
we
a
need to
heel
keep
when I see
highlighting
one.
it. And that's what we're going to do here at the Midas Touch Network when we're going to talk about things like healthcare and
All right, cool. Thanks to Midas Touch Network. Love their analysis. Bunch of good people over there. Y'all know me, like the people who jump deep into the legal weeds. And I'm with them. I actually do think that there's going to be justice here. I really do. Justice delayed is not justice denied. Let's go! If you're happy, put your money in the plate. If you're happy, put your money in the plate. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy, put your money in the plate. If you're happy, put your money in the plate. If you're happy, put your money in the plate. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy, put your money in the plate. Links in the description. Happy New Year, motherfuckers. We'll be right back, and then we're going to get into the main theme of the evening, which is we are going to start the new year all up religion's booty hole. All up the booty hole. all just so far up like you're gonna need to see a doctor in the morning because something is seriously stuck up your booty hole.
Airplane mode. Ready for takeoff?
Start my morning every day with her. In the afternoon I lay with her. In the evening I'ma stay with her. Hi, I'm in love. I ain't even tripping, but them say she a drug, cause she here every day for me. In the morning hit her faithfully. At least a dub when we touch. No one falling in love. I ain't even tripping, cause she the one I could trust. Even bring her out on dates with me. See my mama new place with me. She hold me down on the days when I ain't feeling too up. I ain't even tripping, cause she with me in the clutch. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but she ain't even a drug. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping. The signs say I'm in love. Mary Jane is different, cause she ain't even a drug. She be there every day for me. She my sweet Mary Jane shorty. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, she turned me into the plug. She be there dealing weight with me. She be there to take the pain from me. The homie said that I'm tripping, but all they do is get drunk. Smoking on the wax, they thinking I'm off the drugs. I go all out the way for ya. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I stay, cause she know that I'm in love. I ain't even tripping, cause she the one I could trust. She go running every day with me. Take the kids out to play with me. They say I'm tripping, I ain't slipping, cause she ain't even a drug. Niggas sipping lean, ain't worried what's in your cup. In the morning I might play with ya. Take a long walk and stay with ya. She my sweet Mary Jane, and she the one I could trust. Niggas sipping lean, but me I'm smoking a dub. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping, cause hi, I'm in love. Mary Jane is different, cause she ain't even a drug. Yeah.
Airplane mode. Ready for takeoff?
Start my morning every day with her. In the afternoon I lay with her. In the evening I'ma stay with her. Hi, I'm in love. I ain't even tripping, but them say she a drug, cause she here every day for me. In the morning hit her faithfully. At least a dub when we touch. No one falling in love. I ain't even tripping, cause she the one I could trust. Even bring her out on dates with me. See my mama new place with me. She hold me down on the days when I ain't feeling too up. I ain't even tripping, cause she with me in the clutch. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but she ain't even a drug. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping. The signs say I'm in love. Mary Jane is different, cause she ain't even a drug. She be there every day for me. She my sweet Mary Jane shorty. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, she turned me into the plug. She be there dealing weight with me. She be there to take the pain from me. The homie said that I'm tripping, but all they do is get drunk. Smoking on the wax, they thinking I'm off the drugs. I go all out the way for ya. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I stay, cause she
go running every day with me. Take the kids out to play with me. They say I'm tripping, I ain't slipping, cause she ain't even a drug. Niggas sipping lean, ain't worried what's in your cup. In the morning I might play with ya. Take a long walk and stay with ya. She my sweet Mary Jane, and she the one I could trust. Niggas sipping lean, but me, I'm smoking a dub. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might leave.
The signs say I'm in love. Niggas sipping lean, ain't worried what's in your cup. Welcome back, folks. Really, really appreciate all of you for being here. Cheers to you and yours. I hope you're all having a happy, happy, happy new year. I hope the new year is filled with growth and prosperity. AR, let me get a drum solo. Cheers, everybody. Look at AR. Look at AR. See, AR, this is the difference between me and you, Wade. That's why they call me Pocket Locker. So you got to be ready at all times when you're sitting on them drums, AR. There we go. Yeah. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. There you go, AR. Big boy shit. All right, look, y'all. Let's set the tone for this year, man. Y'all know me. For the last year, I have spent 300 shows, my entire eternity in this community, watching a bunch of people who tell me they don't believe in religion, just tell me how great every single religious person I ever talked to is, and I'm tired of it. Look, let's do some counter apologetics. Let's make fun of some religious folks. Let's be honest, ridicule is a very important part of our tool to help other people grow. So, you know, we got to do our patriotic duty and make fun of people. Now we're going to start with some brand new holy Kool-Aid off the top, off rip, tone setting episode. Not playing. January 1st, day one, let's get on some day one shit. You know what I'm saying? Holy Kool-Aid, that's literally like, yo, that's like one of the first content creators I've really found in this community that I was like, let's go. I am getting supercharged in my anti-Christian powers. All right, so look, we're not fucking around today. I got serious shit for y'all today. Let's get it. Let's go, boy. Yes, you know the theme. You know the theme. Don't act like you ain't know that fucking theme. Let's
All
go.
around the world, millions of sick, disabled, and dying people are turning in desperation to the supernatural, flocking to spiritual leaders and faith healers, faithfully emptying their wallets in a last-ditch hope for a miraculous cure. But what if I told you that there are certain conditions which most faith healers will avoid like the plague? No pun intended.
Wait, real quick, especially for all my ladies, just observe. Yes, that's right. Observe the match between the tights and the stained glass windows. Yes, you know it. Yes, okay, take it in, take it all in. The tights and them stained glass windows got it kind of popping right now. Yup, and he doing his animated thing. We ain't gathered doing our animated thing. It's kind of right, ain't it? Go ahead, you could admire it. You could admire the fit. It's all love.
Conditions which most faith healers will avoid like the plague. No pun intended. For example, you will never see a faith healer pray apart conjoined twins. Let's explore more of them though, and discover why they are the bane of faith healers and see what else they will avoid
Thank you,
at all cost. Growing up as an evangelical Christian missionary kid, I'm no stranger to the world of faith healing, and have even sought it out for myself many times. First as a Christian, because I thoroughly believed in it, and then later as an atheist to put faith healing claims to the test. Over the course of the last few months, I've been digging deeper, like super deep into the world of faith healers. And after watching hundreds of hours of revivals, healing crusades, and street healings, and even attending some in person, and through sifting back through decades of newspaper archives, lawsuits, and even talking to people who were allegedly healed miraculously, I've started to see an extremely strong trend emerging. You may have heard the question, why doesn't God heal amputees? If he's able to create a universe from nothing, and only needed one day off afterwards, and if Christians are granted miraculous healing powers in order to bring glory and converts to God, wouldn't a little nub extension be child's play to an unfathomably omnipotent deity? Or maybe God just loves starfish more than people. And yet, this is part of a larger trend in that it's one of the many ailments which faith healers seem entirely unable to miracle away. Now, I'm going to dive deeper into the psychology of faith healing in an upcoming video and why it actually does sometimes work in very specific cases. So make sure that you're subscribed for that. But
yeah, we're going to check out that Gnostic Environment video. That's the main event tonight. Look, if you want my attention, top 3 reasons Christianity fails. I'm here for it. What's up? What are we doing? What are we here for? What do you need? You need money? You need money? You need time? You need me to sacrifice myself? What do you need? You need a drummer? You need a drummer? Do you need an academic? Do you need a scholar? Do you need a broadcaster? Do you need a Twitch streamer? You need a YouTuber? Do you need what do you need? You need me to shut the fuck up. I guess I could do that.
Now, I simply want to juxtapose a list of conditions which faith healers will
never... No, for real, like, y'all, that's what I'm talking about. Tone setting. We're going after faith healing. After this, we got something on personal experience. I'm telling you.
Never be able to cure, next to things which faith healers regularly attempt to heal and appear, at least at first, to have some success with. See if you can spot the trend. Quick graphic content warning though, some of the conditions I'm about to show you may be a tad bit gruesome. Faith healers never seem to be able to cure permanent paralysis, severe brain damage.
This mother has been taking her son to these crusades ever since the road accident that left him brain damaged 11 years ago.
Down syndrome, they can't regrow limbs, dwarfism, or gigantism. You will never see a faith healer come up to someone with microcephaly and successfully pray their head bigger. Cleft palates, total blindness, and I'm not just talking about bad eyesight where someone might be legally blind, but is simply visually impaired while still retaining perception of light and color. I'm talking about things like complete retinal detachment, end-stage glaucoma, or missing eyeballs.
In the authority of the name of Jesus, whose name is above every name named in heaven and earth, I come against this attack on your eyes.
Craniosynostosis, conjoined twins, parasitic twins where one conjoined twin stops developing in the womb but remains attached to the other one. Proteus syndrome, giant external visible tumors, EV, webbed fingers and toes, giant moles, giant fur-covered moles, or death. Although there's no shortage of pastors who claim to have done so.
The dead man began to move.
I've seen 37 people raised from the dead.
And it's not like a...
Cameron, what does 53 minutes mean? Does that mean he's 53 minutes behind us, y'all?
Faith healer would ever lie in order to maintain a lavish lifestyle.
What? No.
On the rare occasion that pastors do attempt to heal people with conditions like these, they fail spectacularly, so they typically try to avoid them. However, all the time, they do claim that they can cure cancer.
I curse this cancer.
AIDS.
You devil of AIDS, come out of them.
Arthritis.
Just shake off that arthritis.
Carpal tunnel.
I speak to everyone with carpal tunnel. Be healed now.
Back pain.
Back pain.
Neck and back brothers.
Back pain in his back.
Broken bones.
She had a broken toe before she came in this morning.
As long as they've already been reset back in place. Asthma.
God is gonna heal people from the spirit of asthma.
Someone to my right with asthma. You've just been healed.
Migraines.
Every migraine headache.
Migraines. Severe migraines.
Nearsightedness / partial blindness.
He's had degeneration in his left eye.
You are blind? Completely blind or what?
Like visually impaired, I could only see close up.
Partial hearing loss, diabetes.
Diabetes.
Diarrhea.
You're not going to have diarrhea any longer.
Have mercy, Lord.
You are not going to have diarrhea any longer.
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux.
Mental disorders, which they can blame on demons like depression and anxiety, poor memory.
Your memory.
And the Lord said tonight he's going to heal memories.
As long as it's not total memory loss, joint pain.
I've had lots of problems with my joints.
Snap, crackle, pop, bam! With his command, a whole new leg.
Heart issues.
Cardiac problems.
And ulcers.
Ulcers.
Now, these are by no means comprehensive lists, but do you notice a trend? Is there anything that stands out as odd to you between these two lists? Well, for starters, why is God only able and willing to cure certain ailments, but not others? I don't wanna. And more specifically, why is it that faith healers are so often entirely unwilling to even attempt healing things on one of these lists? And when they try, they fail abysmally.
We need every ounce of faith. She is taking these steps to faith. Amazing. This is a done deal.
It is. It's done.
The list on the left contains conditions with very noticeable manifestations like growths and disfigurements. There is a clear physical problem, a noticeable condition which will not resolve on its own. These are not psychosomatic conditions, and they're not conditions that come and go like asthma or diarrhea. One of the most blatant examples of pastors avoiding the conditions on the left but opting to heal the ones on the right is when a lady came forward with one missing eye.
There's no eye on the right side.
And one normal looking eye with allegedly failing eyesight.
Since December last year, the remaining eye has lost vision.
Guess which one the pastor opted to heal?
Cancer has eaten one eye and is eating the other one. They will not remove it again. This problem stops now.
Bro, there is a hole the size of Jupiter in this poor woman's head. You claim to channel the power of an omnipotent cosmic deity, and yet you chose to completely ignore that one and focus only on the other one. Oh wait, I know this guy. That's Alf Lacau, the filthy rich South African megapastor and accused sexual predator who got busted for paying destitute immigrants to pretend that he'd healed them in order to boost attendance and rake in tithes.
33-year-old Blessing Gwemelau further reveals his role was to recruit. He claims he trained visitors to stage disability during sermons.
Pastor, when she went back on Thursday, she got the exact results, HIV negative.
Holy
I was
shit.
not positive. I've never been positive. They wanted me to act as if I was positive, and then Pastor prayed for me and I get healed so they can attract other people to come to the church. They promised me money.
How much?
They said they were going to give me 1.5 every month.
HIV
4 years.
free.
Ravesai was not his only enlisted actor. There were many others.
We were something like 3 to 4 teams which were doing the same job.
There's a whole backstory behind this guy. You would think that if faith healers' claims were true, that over the course of thousands of years, with billions of people dying and with countless thousands, potentially millions, of self-proclaimed supernatural healers practicing their trade, you'd think resurrections and healings of all types would be almost commonplace, and there would be no issue medically verifying them. They'd probably even make hospitals obsolete. But in actuality, faith healers fare no better than placebos, and their success rates are about the same as natural rates of spontaneous remission or medical diagnosis. So that
all right, what happened to the screen here? Oh, there it goes. Sorry. Myronbot's got the wrong screen. Myronbot, your screen's looking kind of wild right now. Okay, that's that. All right, there we go. Here. All right. So something that's crazy about this to me that I'm kind of noticing right now is, man, I don't know. It's really hard for me to not just see pure selfishness and the sort of look the other way gullibility of the faithful. And I think seeing it in certain members of my own family is maybe what it really took for me to recognize that this isn't some fucking innocent thing that just happens. One of the things y'all hear me talk a lot about is I always say, you know, whenever you come at me sitting on some bullshit, not only am I going to hold you account for sitting on some bullshit, I'm going to hold you account for the context and the timing, meaning if you come at me on some anti-Semitic bullshit, for instance, I'm not just going to be mad at you for being anti-Semitic. I'm going to be mad at you for being anti-Semitic, ... and being anti-Semitic in a time when we're trying to do something about anti-Semitism. And for you to overlook that effort and then not make the sort of extra effort we all expect of a decent person right now is extra fucked up. And it gets really hard for me because, again, a lot of us Christians, okay, blah, 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 we were former believers, blah, 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 but eventually we looked into it. Eventually we sought out the truth. Eventually we asked certain questions. Eventually we couldn't ignore certain things. And so it gets really hard for me to give a benefit of the doubt to people who I think know they at least should be looking into certain things, or they're questioning certain things, and then they're choosing not to follow up on that questioning just to remain comfortable. At that point, it's not an innocent lack of knowledge, it's a willful ignorance that you continue to choose actively. So let's not overlook the overlooking is kind of what I'm getting at. It's the good old James Apperson, that line from James Apperson we're going to use to death. I noticed it wasn't a deal breaker for you.
The next time that someone claims that they can cure your cancer by praying for you, ask them what their success rate is with microcephaly or conjoined twins. Actually, they probably aren't the most reputable source for, obvious reasons. Instead, dig a little bit deeper, but maybe opt for skepticism as your default starting position. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting my videos through one-time donations on PayPal or ongoing per-video pledges on patreon.com/holykoolaid. I'll put links to all the ways you can support my show below. If you appreciate me pushing back against charlatans, con artists, psychics, faith healers, all of that, you can support my work, and it really does allow me to...
Per-video pledging is cool. That's a good way to do Patreon. I do per-month stuff. That's interesting. Can y'all imagine if I did per-stream Patreon? I'd have no patrons. I do too many streams. Great video. Tons of work that goes in stuff like that. And there's a danger here in so many of these issues of throwing certain groups of people under the bus because it's easy. It's really easy to throw quote unquote evangelicals, quote unquote fundamentalists, quote unquote faith healers under the bus. But let's look at the bigger picture. Do you really have to be a person who forgoes medical treatment and, walks down the aisle of some minister, throws your entire life savings into his golden plate so he can fake heal you of a lame walk, to be caught up in this faith healing conversation? No. To me, if you're on that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me tip, you're pushing the faith healing. Every person that, you find out a loved one gets a terminal illness, somebody calls you with some bad news, you drop to your knees, or the only form of support you can seem to never offer anybody is I'll pray for you. To me, you're on that faith healing tip because, again, you're selling the narrative. You're selling the narrative that I just came to you, told you I got ran over by a car, I'm paralyzed from the waist down. You told me you pray for me. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but it seems as though you seem to believe that prayer is somehow going to help or comfort me in my current predicament, as though, look, y'all, are we gonna have to broaden this umbrella? Right? Let's not be silly, y'all. That's all faith healing. Or else we're gonna have to start calling it faith treatment. right? Because that's what you're saying, right? Uncle Bobby says the same shit all the time. If you get a headache, you take a Tylenol and say a prayer, the headache goes away. What did it? Now remind you, headaches go away on their own. But we all know Tylenol takes care of them headaches. So what the fuck are you praying about? Because to me, that's going to serve as like the gateway drug. That's going to serve as the stepping stone to the belief in greater healing. And it really is true because, like, let's say in my family, there are some people that are, people on that really, really religious tip. But even when they get away from the really, really religious tip, they're subject to all types of other shit, like multi-level marketing schemes, like alternative medicines, right? A lot of y'all chat, let me know what's up, chat. I bet you if you like me, right, your family's super religious or whatever, right? But there's a lot of other magical secretness in that sauce. There's a lot of hope that some sort of fucking peppermint ointment, can really help deal with the COVID. Oh, so-and-so, rubbed some eucalyptus leaves on her chest and that made her feel better when she got bronchitis. Like, y'all, right? Because it's the same epistemology. It's the same way of thinking. So to me, it is important to call out the faith healing, and I'm so great for the way Holy Kool-Aid put it. And man, that video was graphic and really kind of almost difficult to watch in a way, but really made a very vivid graphic point about the sort of selective attention to, and exactly what the problem is. But let's also make sure that we're paying attention to the ways in which our broader Christianese culture, right? They don't want to be, they're not Christian nationalist, they're Christian nationalish, let's pay attention to how that broader culture perpetuates faith healing narratives, even if it seems like a less extreme form of those practices. All right, but that was wonderful. Let's keep it moving. I kind of had to give away that the last thing we're going to do is get in the Neil's video. Apparently, a lot of people are really excited about that day. The title got me. Obviously, I did an appearance on Neil's channel recently, so just super excited to work with, Neil and Derek, and they're such cool dudes. But there's this other thing I want to jump into today. And it's a piece, it's actually from a while ago, but I wanted to bring it up today on New Year's because y'all know I'm trying to set this new tone of being really serious about the counter-apologetics this year, because I feel like, I've gotten a little too friendly with people and they kind of have forgotten what I'm all about and what I'm here to do. So let me kick it with y'all for real about why we're about to get into the piece we're about to get into. The piece we're about to get into is about personal experience. Why? Because that's really the whole fucking game to these people. Right? Like, all of this apologetics, all of this philosophical nonsense, all of this anti-intellectual this, all that anti-science that, it's all a bunch of fucking wrapping paper. At the end of the day, the ones who have half a testicle enough of integrity to be honest with you will tell you that the real reason they're a soldier for God is because what God did to them and the inner testimony and witness of the Holy Spirit and how their life was changed and how Jesus got their uncle off drugs and all of this other shit. God helped them found their keys. Y'all know the fucking song and dance. They give us these fucking dissertations about vapors which is fucking ridiculous because we keep trying to tell them, bro, I don't care. Bro, I don't care about the Bible. So you sitting here for an hour telling me how the Bible truly shows that the Bible truly shows that the Bible truly shows ain't really gonna get me and you anywhere because I'm not going anywhere with you on that Bible shit. You sitting here for 14 hours talking about how I can't prove that metaphysically the philosophy of Secretarius from the Quirinius school of Stoic presuppositional epistemology of the ontology of the metaphysics of the universe. How will I know that ultimately there isn't a source for the laws of the ultimately's? I'm gonna just be like, bro, honestly, your mental masturbation is wasting time. I could be doing physical masturbation. See the difference between your bullshit worldview and my naturalistic one? You want to do philosophy porn. I'd rather watch real porn. And I can't do both at the same time because one makes me hard and one makes me soft. And it really is just a bunch of fucking bullshit. Oh, you just can't accept the most well-supported evidence theory in history of science because you just, look, I just, nobody cares. And then let the motherfuckers get alone in a room with each other where they can be all Humpty Dumpty bro loving about Jesus, their Lord and Savior that nobody's ever heard of apparently. Is anybody going to be walking around singing songs about the cosmological argument? Philosophy is mighty to say. Philosophy is mighty to say. No. Nobody gets up on Sunday morning and says, I was out there slinging ass just for a little grass. And then one day, these sweet little teenagers knocked on my door talking about, have you ever heard of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? And I was like, no, I haven't. And so they told me about Jesus. They said, for God to love the world, he forgave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth him shall not perish but have eternal life. And I was like, just for me, right? And right then, I was like, oh, I would love to, but I just don't know. I mean, really give my life to Christ? I don't know if I can. Well, did you know that everything that we know of, that we can observe, has a beginning? And if everything that has a beginning has a cause, then eventually you can't have an infinite regression. So you must have an ultimately uncaused cause of the causation. And since the unmoved mover has to be unmoved, it must be a timeless, spaceless, immaterial being. And since it's a timeless, spaceless, immaterial being, it must either be numbers or God. Holy shit. And I knew right then that Jesus died for my sins. No, y'all. What the fuck do they talk about? Well, they always talk about personal experience. Look at the... Sorry. Look at the tree. Look at the me. Always. It's always personal experience. So look, when we deal with real Christianity in the motherfucking streets, that's what we should start telling people. Listen, YouTube nerd. Listen, you motherfucking Bible nerd, philosopher-tard. Okay? Listen, maybe sitting around debating ancient philosophy text is the way to deconvert people on YouTube. But out on the streets, okay, on the streets, religious people is talking about personal experience almost exclusively. So let's fuck that shit all the way up. Let's go for it then. Let's talk about personal experience then. Let's stop bullshitting, y'all. Come on, y'all. It's New Year's. We doing this shit right. We setting the tone off early. We getting at your family, your friends, all the religious people you know and love, your religious ex-girlfriend, all your religious co-workers. Yeah, they ain't gonna be talking about no William Lane Craig. They ain't gonna be talking about no Sean McDowell. They ain't gonna be talking about no minimal facts. Fat ass Gary Habermas. I mean, oops. Y'all know I said that shit on purpose. Yeah, y'all know I took a cheap shot at Gary Habermas. You know I took a cheap, and I don't even got nothing against big people. I just wanted to insult Gary Habermas because I'm trying to be because I don't like him. Because I don't like him. I don't like him. He's ugly too. I don't like his face, and I think he's stupid, and I think the minimal facts stink. And I've never even talked to him, but I bet you he got bad breath. Yeah, and I bet you he can't get it up. Oh, yeah, I see that he's a married man. Damn, she hasn't had good sex in a long time. Ooh, y'all want me to keep going? That man lies to people for a living. I wish I would feel bad.
Thanks for joining me. A college-age kid who wanted to flex his intellectual muscle once asked his teacher, "Sir, have you seen God?"
My God,
the teacher replied, "Yes. I see him as clearly as one sees the apple in the palm
Gary
of the hand,
Habermas.
nay, even more intently. And not only this, you can also see him." This sounds like something straight out of William Lane Craig, doesn't it? My friend, I know Christianity is true because God's Spirit lives in me and assures me that it is true. And you can know it too because God is knocking at the door of your heart,
sucks at
telling
driving.
you
I
the
said
same
it.
thing. But this is not the story of one of Craig's students. This is the story of Swami Vivekananda. The God that the teacher Ramakrishna spoke of was certainly not Yahweh, but Brahma or Kali, or another of the Hindu pantheon. There is no reason, short of special pleading, to say that one experience counts and the other doesn't. There are two types of arguments from religious experience. Those which attempt to establish, by virtue of so many people claiming to experience God, that God actually exists, and those which attempt to establish by virtue of a particular person believing that they are experiencing God, that it is reasonable for that person to believe that God exists. William James, in The Will to Believe, calls these the strong and weak forms of the argument. Both versions employ some form of the principle of credulity. This is a critical principle in inductive reasoning, and it basically states that if it appears to us that X is present, then unless we have some special reason to believe otherwise, we should believe that X is present. This principle will certainly sound familiar to anyone who has followed my series on the argument from evil. This relies on the principle of credulity as well. It argues that since it appears to us that pointless evil and suffering exists, then unless we have good reason to believe that evil and suffering is not actually pointless, that is, unless we have a good theodicy, we should believe that pointless evil and suffering exists, and pointless evil and suffering is incompatible with the existence of an all-loving God. The Rowian argument from evil, which I use in that series, is really nothing more than the principle of credulity instantiated to a particular set of experiences shared by all humanity. Likewise, the argument from religious experience is little more than the principle of credulity instantiated to a particular set of experiences shared by, well, some humans. Many apologists will try to argue that the vast majority of humans believe in God. This is not true. In fact, it is just barely true to say that a simple majority of humans believe in God. Christianity and Islam, the two major monotheistic faiths in the world, together constitute only 55% of the population. Subtract that, and the 16% who have no religious affiliation, as well as the smaller monotheisms such as Judaism and Zoroastrianism, and you are left with more than a quarter of the human race who are religious but not monotheistic. These include polytheism such as Hinduism, reincarnation beliefs such as Buddhism, shamanism, animism, paganism, Taoism, cargo cults, UFO cults, Elvis cults, Geddy Lee cults. I don't actually know that there are any Geddy Lee cults out there. I just think he's a good musician and worthy of respect. Okay? You've got Sikhism, Confucianism, Rastafarianism, Pastafarianism, Satanism, the Prince Philip movement. This one is real, as is the worship of a Royal Enfield Bullet 350cc motorcycle in the Pali district of India. And
Myron, who flied for our sins, but you already knew that.
Personal favorite, just based on the name,
Myron.
is Faithism. Faithism is based on a 19th century crypto-Abrahamic text that contains possibly the first recorded use of the word starship.
What does God need with a starship?
Now, this is all for the sake of context. When apologists say that most humans believe in some kind of God or some kind of higher power, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. They want you to believe that the existence of motorcycle worshippers constitutes evidence, even indirect evidence, for the existence of the Christian God. Now, apologists will say that it is religious experience which sets Christianity apart from all these other religions. Even Islam, in which, I'll be the first to admit, less emphasis is placed on direct experience of God than on Christianity. But direct experience of Allah is still a thing. See my video, Interview with Two Theists, for more on the subject. Nonetheless, William Lane Craig always ends the opening statements of his debates with an argument which isn't actually an argument, but just Craig letting the audience know that if they sincerely seek God, then they too can have an experience of God. And by sincerely, Craig means with the right mindset. He doesn't mean you have to want to believe that God exists, or that you have to want to devote your life to God and to the Christian lifestyle. And if he does mean that, then he is inconsistent. Because many people who report experiences of the Christian God also report that they weren't looking for him at all. That following the Christian lifestyle was the very last thing they wanted, right up to the moment that God spoke to them. This tradition of God allegedly speaking to the unwilling goes all the way back to the most famous convert of all, Saul of Tarsus, later known as Paul. So it doesn't seem to be true that if God exists and comes into people's hearts, you have to sincerely be seeking him. What you appear to need is the right mindset, by which I mean the mindset which is conducive to having an experience of the type that the person who has it might be inclined to call religious. It is no secret that religious experiences can have natural causes. One theory about Saul of Tarsus is that his visions of God were caused by epilepsy, which stimulated the temporal lobe to give him the experiences he had.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all wasn't ready. Y'all wasn't ready. Just say it. Just admit it. Just fucking admit it. Stop fucking lying. Stop lying. Stop lying. You wasn't ready. Yo, that video's fire, bro. What is with this dude, man? Yo, bro, like, calm down, man. Like, wow. Dude is really really going in right here. But I love it. Look, it's so true. Basically, all we constantly get is everybody feels like they felt God. But nobody will validate anybody else's feeling of just feeling a different God unless they're like Richard Madsen and then they realize that, you know, they'd have to be consistent. So then they go, oh, well, I would grant other people their feelings of God. And then I'm like, well, I wouldn't. So it wasn't a trick question. So it's so weird. But look, I was like, damn, look, I'm gonna just let everybody take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. BBVW, baby. Musical interlude. Happy New Year's.
I can't sing, but tonight I'm gonna try. She got all the things that I seen online, but the one that I'm with gon' ride for life. The problem really is bad bitch versus wife. Now, hold up, my wife be a bad bitch. But the ones on the gram got perfect titties and asses. My girl, she loyal and lavish. She ain't showing off her assets just to level up her status. If she did, it wouldn't matter. She do her and I do me. I met a shorty through a link. Now we linking for some drinks. Conversation kinda vingin'. First day, last day was in the base. On some MySpace top 8 shit. Headshots her favorite. But lust ain't gonna save us. Headed home to my main chick. Yeah, she might do some complaining, but I'd rather her than a fake chick who's stuck on herself and she brainless. Focused on loving the same way. Don't got no time for the games, babe. We getting no fucking lame shit. Sing, but tonight I'm gonna try. She got all the things that I seen online, but the one that I'm with gon' ride for life. The problem really is that bitch first wife. I can't sing, but tonight I'm gon' try. She got all the things that I seen online, but the one that I'm with gon' ride for life. Really is that bitch first wife. 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 She know she the wife. She know she a bad bitch. We do this shit nightly. Make movies like Spike Lee. Take trips so you know that we sightsee. Shorty the wifey. Don't even need diamonds and ices. I cut off my side chicks. For her, I cut off my side chicks, yeah. I'm up in the morning. My girl, she faithful and loyal. That's why she gets spoiled. But love, just keep us in order. I can't sing, but tonight I'm gonna try. She got all the things that I seen online, but the one that I'm with gon' ride for life. The problem really is that bitch first wife. I can't sing, but tonight I'm gon' try. She got all the things that I seen online, but the one that I'm with gon' ride for life. The problem really is that bitch first wife.
All right, gang, let's get back to it, man. This video is really great. All right, let's keep it moving.
Temporal lobe can also be stimulated by fasting, illness, stress, sleep deprivation, meditation, not to mention ingesting certain interesting substances. It can also be stimulated by music. Dan Barker reported that he once debated a Christian minister who closed his debate by playing a Christian song on a cassette player. "Close your eyes and listen to the music," the minister said, "and you will feel the Spirit of God for yourself." Barker then stood up and identified the composing technique, a repetitive cadence between the dominant seventh and the major tonic with an occasional suspended fourth on the 5 chord, as one which is known to induce a trance-like effect. I figure that if you were to use that technique in a room full of devout Muslims, or at least people steeped in Muslim culture, and the religious experiences you induced were specifically and unmistakably of the God of evangelical Christianity rather than the God of Islam, that would be interesting evidence for the existence of God. But you never see that, do you? We know that religious experiences can have naturalistic causes. That's not up for debate. We know that such experiences will be of the entity suggested by one's specific circumstances.
And here's another, it just gets at a perfect problem with the religious worldview. Because it's so internally referenced and, you know, they're the only source of how reasonable it is for them to have their beliefs, they just don't accept that. You know, they just won't accept that, or won't accept that that could likely apply to them or be the most probable explanation of what they're experiencing. They just won't.
Such as environment and upbringing. The only way to avoid the implications of these facts for the veridicalness of religious experience, that is, for the idea that these experiences are of something outside one's own mind, is to concede that not all religious experiences are evidence for the existence of God, and in particular that the religious experiences known to have naturalistic causes are not evidence for the existence of God. But this creates an enormous problem for the apologist, because many of the things I mentioned earlier, meditation, music, and so on, are practices you will find in organized worship services as well as private worship sessions. Given that we know that these experiences might have naturalistic causes, and given that there is no way to tell between experiences with naturalistic causes and experiences with supernaturalistic causes, what is the justification for saying that some of these experiences, or that any of them, do constitute evidence for the existence of God? We don't need God to explain them. It is by no means clear that these experiences would be surprising if God did not exist. Indeed, if God existed, then it is surprising that there would be any experiences with naturalistic causes. Why would God have designed our brains in such a way as to allow that? That would make God a prankster, someone whose word we could not trust. A Christian.
This was a really important realization in my deconversion, that this idea that, you know, God just happened to create a world where everything works just like it would work in a world where God's supernaturalness didn't occur, or where there was no. So the world of his supernatural creation looks like the same world where there is no supernatural, and then he's gonna fuck us all types up if we notice. I mean, when the things that people were arguing to me to keep me in the faith on my way out, when I really started to see through all of this, and it reduced this God to this fucking swindler, I was so turned off that I was like, how do you guys even want to do, like, why do you want to do this anymore? If this is who you, like, your brain just turns to mush for Jesus. Like, ugh. I hate to sound like making this all about aesthetics, right? But at some point, aren't you just so turned off to these ideas that, like, require you to sacrifice your dignity? The fact that people are proud of this and not ashamed of it is deeply problematic. I'll say that.
By the way, might argue that a religious experience can have a naturalistic cause, such as meditation or drugs, and still be veridical to God. But again, short of special pleading, the Christian who accepts a naturally caused experience of God as veridical has no objective reason not to accept a naturally caused experience of Brahma as veridical. So I maintain that the strong argument from religious experience, the notion that reported experiences constitute objective evidence for the existence of God, is indefensible. Now, what about the weak argument, or the argument that religious experiences can constitute subjective evidence for the existence of God? This seems to be where most apologists focus their attention these days. And as we do so often on this channel, we turn to William Lane Craig to lay it out. Craig, in the infamous first chapter of Reasonable Faith, calls the experience of the Holy Spirit self-authenticating, unmistakable, and universal. I take self-authenticating to mean that the person who has the experience needs no justification for believing that the experience is veridical to God beyond the experience itself.
And this is where, like, people who suck off William Lane Craig, and I'm not even talking about the Christians and his sycophants, I'm talking about atheists and his critics who go, oh, well, I do think that Dr. Craig is brilliant, and I do think Dr. Craig is such a genius, and I think he's so much smarter than him, but fuck out of here, bro. Again, none of these guys are that smart. I could tell you how you know. You know they're not that smart because they couldn't figure out how to do something smart to make a living. You can't tell me somebody's a genius, but then tell me, sorry, they can't do better than marketing self-refuting arguments and being fucking grifters and swindlers. I'm like, probably not Mensa material, no disrespect. And if they are, then it's just because of, like, whatever privilege they got and they learn how to read, write, and test good. Like, but nobody's impressed, and they're not brilliant because they shouldn't have to be stupid for a living if they were. There's plenty of people who are satisfied with whatever they get in life on the merits of making the best of their best ideas. And the fact that these people can't do that tells you that they just don't have it. Sorry, like, William Lane Craig is not that smart. Like, seriously, it's really important that you start to realize that. And the same thing about Jordan Fuckface Peterson. Just because somebody has a PhD doesn't make them smart. If you don't have enough experience with PhDs and you tend to trust my judgment, then please take my word for it. I do happen to know a lot of people with PhDs. A lot of them are fucking idiots, all right?
I take unmistakable to mean that the person who experiences the Holy Spirit cannot possibly be mistaken about it, although he can try to lie to himself and others about it. As for universal, Craig puts it like this. The Bible says all men are without excuse. Even those who are given no good reason to believe and many persuasive reasons to disbelieve have no excuse, because the ultimate reason they do not believe is that they have deliberately rejected God's Holy Spirit. So, every single person who lived in, say, North America in the 12th century had an experience of the God of evangelical Christianity, the God of William Lane Craig, and deliberately and culpably rejected that God. Every single one, without exception. I know that there have been attempts to defend the morality and plausibility.
We talk about this too.
Every single person who lived in, say, North America in the 12th century had an experience of the God of evangelical Christianity, the God of William Lane Craig, and deliberately and culpably rejected that God. Every single one, without exception.
God damn,
I know that there have been
this
attempts to defend the morality and plausibility of this position. I believe that Craig himself has said that God, knowing that certain souls would not under any circumstances accept the Holy Spirit, arranged for all those souls to be lumped together, as it were, in places and times which would be geographically and or culturally isolated from places and times where Christianity, the religion, would reach them. In other words, God deliberately arranged the geographical and cultural distribution of God-accepting souls and God-rejecting souls in exactly the way it would appear if Christianity had spread organically.
Or, just hear me out, maybe, possibly, could it be, perhaps, William Lane Craig is full of shit? I don't know.
Because
I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
Let me let you in on a little secret,
just asking
one which
questions.
it took me 2 decades of being an atheist to realize. Just because a theory is widely accepted and disseminated by theologians, even mainstream theologians, does not mean we are required to accept that it even passes the sniff test. This one doesn't. I'm not going to pretend it does. Nor am I going to speculate on the psychological reasons why so many people would find it not only plausible but true. Just as there are organic explanations for religious experiences, so too there are organic explanations for the widespread acceptance of obviously ridiculous ideas. We'll just leave it at that. The question we're concerned with is one who experiences God justified on the basis of the experience alone in believing that God exists? Even champions of the argument from religious experience who appeal to the principle of credulity will admit that it is subject to defeaters. They simply deny that any defeaters apply in the case of those who are actually experiencing God. But whether such people exist is exactly what is at issue.
Boom.
In order for any experience to be unmistakable, as Craig and others claim is true of a genuine experience of God, certain things must be true of the human mind. It is not enough for the property of unmistakability to be in the experience itself. It must lie partly, if not totally, in the agent who is having the experience. The agent must be, with respect to an experience of God, infallible. Our brains must have certain structures, whether physical or abstract structures, which enable us
to have a powerful cumulative case
rate in correctly identifying an experience of the God of evangelical Christianity as such. The problem is, there is no reason whatsoever to assume that the human mind has a 100% success rate in anything. Wait a minute, you might say, surely it's impossible to believe that I myself do not exist. But it is. It's called Cotard delusion. But surely it's impossible to believe that the universe does not exist, but only on the left side of my body. Again, it is. That's called hemispatial neglect. But surely it's impossible to mistake my wife for a hat. This really is fascinating reading, and it makes the case about as well as it can be made that there is nothing completely reliable about the human mind. There is no way that any experience or any belief can be 100% unmistakable. And yes, that includes atheism. The examples I gave are identified with neurological disorders because they're incredibly rare, which will probably lead the apologists to protest that religious experience is very common. But in the first place, no two religious experiences seem to be identical. even within the contextual framework of evangelical Christianity. Everyone is unique. And second, this point has to do with the veridicality of these experiences and whether we can be mistaken about them. The point is that we can be mistaken about anything. And just because religious experience is a mainstream phenomenon in many cultures does not mean we should exempt it. So religious experience is subject to defeaters, and we should accept as defeaters the fact that religious experiences are so unique and so often contradictory. If one person has an experience of type E that P is true, and another person has an experience of type E that not P is true, this tells us that E-type experiences are not reliable for obtaining information about whether P-type propositions are true. Anyone who has dealt with eyewitness testimony in court can attest to this. And those who have religious experiences and are aware of this fact, and in the information age, this means most if not all believers in the Western world, do have a defeater for the proposition that their religious experience is veridical to a God. If the vast majority of people who claim religious experiences reported that they were specifically of Jesus, that would be a different story. But across all of humanity, that is not the case. There may have been a time in world history when the diversity of religious belief was not widely known, when the immediate experiences of everyday life was all that a person ever knew. That time has passed. Apologists are fond of quoting Romans, which said that all men who deny God are without excuse. But as the naturalistic basis of religious experience becomes better understood, and as the contradictory nature of the propositions imparted by religious experience becomes more widely known, I say that with each passing year it becomes more and more the case that believers are the ones without excuse. Perhaps they cannot help what they believe, but to sell their beliefs as rational is a choice, and I cannot help but believe that it is the wrong choice. If you enjoyed this video and want to help my channel grow, please hit the like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, you could get all that. What I gotta hit? I gotta hit the like, share. How do you share shit? Let's start sharing shit, yo. Let's share it on. We should start a Reddit. I don't even know. Let's try Twitter. Maybe. Sure. Let's see how to share things, gang. All right. I don't think this is the right account for my Twitter. All right, we'll do that later. But yeah, we'll like, subscribe, do the things. Great video. I do need to get I think I got to log into my other email or log into my Twitter. But that's a good idea, so I can start sharing videos that I like. Be a good way to also share stuff that we review on the channel. All right, gang. It's time to get to it, man. I don't even know what to say. Like, a lot of y'all don't really know, but we're always in gather. Man, look, let me not start talking. I'll be right back.
Airplane mode. Ready for takeoff?
Start my morning every day with her. In the afternoon I lay with her. In the evening I'ma stay with her. Hi, I'm in love. I ain't even tripping, but them say she a drug, cause she here every day for me. In the morning hit her faithfully. At least a dub when we touch. No one falling in love. I ain't even tripping, cause she the one I could trust. Even bring her out on dates with me. See my mama new place with me. She hold me down on the days when I ain't feeling too up. I ain't even tripping, cause she with me in the clutch. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but she ain't even a drug. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping. The signs say I'm in love. Mary Jane is different, cause she ain't even a drug. She be there every day for me. She my sweet Mary Jane shorty. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, she turned me into the plug. She be there dealing way with me. She be there to take the pain from me. The homie said that I'm tripping, but all they do is get drunk. Smoking on the wax, they thinking I'm off the drugs. I go all out the way for ya. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I stay, cause she know that I'm in love. I ain't even tripping, cause she the one I could trust. She go running every day with me. Take the kids out to play with me. They say I'm tripping, I ain't slipping, cause she ain't even a drug. Niggas sipping lean, ain't worried what's in your cup. In the morning I might play with ya. Take a long walk and stay with ya. She my sweet Mary Jane, and she the one I could trust. Niggas sipping lean, but me I'm smoking a dub. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but never enough.
Welcome back, everybody. So excited. Our first fucking New Year's together. Let's do this shit. Good shit. Come link up with the gang. After this, we will actually be in the holiday gathering gather. The link is in the description. We'll be in there overnight. We'll probably start with an episode of Game of Thrones, and then we'll probably kick it over to Joel for a movie, and we'll hit the overnight. Tomorrow in the afternoon, I'm going to be going over the Jordan Peterson podcast with Amala, I think her name is, from PragerU. I invited James Apperson to join me for that. I don't think Uncle Bobby will be with us because I think he's having allergies. If any of you saw his video today. I'm sure my one black friend will join us, so that should be a good time. Nerdy, good to see everybody here. Happy New Year to those of you on the West Coast. Thanks so much for joining us. And look, I 100% agree with our last video, y'all. We gotta at some point in our lives come out swinging. And I don't mean that means you have to be like me, be hostile, be aggressive, ridicule people. But if you want to, have at it. But I really do think that if you can safely, you should live your truth. You should speak your truth. And that means just being honest about where you're at in life with faith. And if you ain't feeling it, you ain't feeling it. And I think at the end of the day, y'all, for most believers in our lives, it really does come down to personal experience. It really, really does. And I think once we can get a person to just be honest about why that doesn't work, it may be the start of a journey that has uncomfortable moments in parts of the process. But we begin to grow. We've all been through that process. We all survived. You're good to go. I venture to guess that most of us are really happy we deconverted. So, take your lived experience in that regard. You're not promising that a person will be happier that way, but you can certainly, share what you know and what you've come to see and understand. I really do think that if we can be a little bit bolder this year, be a little bit more confident, especially now that many of us have found friends, found community, managed our lives. I think about it like this. Sometimes when I'm going through things that I store, I don't know when to get rid of something. Let's say like an important document or something. But once I realized, damn, it's been it's been more than a year since I touched this thing or whatever. It's like, I could probably get rid of this. You know, if the tax man ain't come after me over this one, I'm probably good. If it's been a couple years, you're like, if I'm not going to use it, I could probably get rid of this, right? Some of us, maybe the last year has really been the first time we're kind of feeling ourselves as the atheist, or the last couple years. You know, you're kind of really getting your footing. You're really getting a hold of managing your life and building your relationships and all of that in this identity. But there's still some relationships where you haven't been able to do that, or that's been a challenge. You know, why not now? So let's encourage each other to be willing to go there. Now, with that being said, man, shout out to the Gather Gang and the Mod Squad. Really appreciate all your support and how much y'all help go into the content. Like always, I often wake up in the morning with messages on my social media from mods like Cameron Bennett about stuff that I need to look over, like the Miracles That Always Fail video for Holy Kool-Aid. And this video that Neil came out with today, Gnostic Informant, link is down in the description. Everybody's been super excited about. A few different people have mentioned it in the chat today. So that's going to be our main event tonight. And really excited, happy to kick the New Year's off. And, you know, before we wrap it up, let's get into this. And, yeah, let's hope that this is what I'm looking for is can this video set the tone for the year? You know, if you're going to drop on New Year's and everybody's building it up, you know, for me, I told y'all my New Year's resolution is for you to go, if you're a theist, you go to the doctor and you, oh, doctor, I can't sit, I can't do nothing. The doctor extracts, turns out you had a whole ass black man all the way up your booty hole, right? Now, you know, top 3 reasons Christianity doesn't work, you know, that's okay. That's what we're trying to do this year. So I'm hoping that this video sets the tone for this year. And let's go ahead and get into it.
If you watch my channel, you know that I'm very critical about Christianity. I came out of Christianity, and now I take a very critical approach. And I like to do a lot of comparative mythology, bring in a lot of scholars, ask questions about how Christianity began, the origins, historicity of Jesus, what's true, what's not, stuff like that. But in this video, I want to give 3 main reasons, right to the jugular, on why Christianity fails. These are 3 things, in my opinion, that demonstrate why Christianity fails. Number 3 is the historicity. And I'm not talking about Jesus' historicity.
Wow.
I'm talking about the Old Testament here.
Okay. The
Bible gives a lot of data on the ages of certain patriarchs going back from Adam all the way to Jesus. We can easily take this data and come up with dates for when was the world created and when was the great flood that restarted humanity. The 2 dates that I'm going to use are from answers in Genesis. 4004 BC is the date for the creation of the world. 2348 BC is the date of the flood. Now, some of you might be saying, but the Bible doesn't give these dates, so how can we know that? It's just as simple as taking the genealogy in either Luke or Matthew, adding up the dates and the ages of the patriarchs and when they had their children, and coming to these numbers.
It's funny that these look just like the same type of ways we might draw out phylogenies over time to show evolutionary relationships. So, you know, you see the dressings of scholarship here. And this type of graphic is really useful. Of course, it's based in estimations, and people always want to argue about how do you go with these exact dates. But real talk, anybody that's willing to have this conversation, you know, let's just say at an ordinary layman's conversation level, we could grant windows here. Sure, I don't know exactly how long so-and-so lived or how long each generation was. But even if the most conservative, charitable windows, there's nowhere close. Also, I often think about this myself, and this was a really great point by Neil to distinguish the historicity of the events in the Bible, particularly the Old Testament, from the historicity of Jesus. Historicity of Jesus to me is a thoroughly unsatisfying topic, and I don't mean unsatisfying like I'm not interested in it. I think it's really fascinating to talk about. It's very satisfying from a curiosity standpoint. It's just that we don't know. So unless you can be cool with we don't know, then you might find it unsatisfying. But a lot of these other issues are much more settled in terms of historical consensus. And while none of that is my area of expertise, speaking from my own deconversion story, similar to how Neil's kind of trying to relate his, I realized that theologically, you know, this much of the New Testament being undermined the notion of God fundamentally. I couldn't separate out the two and go, yeah, they screwed up the whole Old Testament, but then Jesus came. Because the Christian narrative is that all the stuff in the Old Testament is pointing ultimately to Jesus. And if the creation narrative isn't literally true, then why are we running around acting like God created the world, but the story of him creating the world isn't literally true? Well, that doesn't really make any sense, because then where does he get all his power from? Oh, well, you know, Jesus descended through the line of David and blah, 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 and all that. And then you find out all this stuff isn't true, and that Moses wasn't real, and all of this type of nonsense. And at some point, you're just realizing you may have built this shining crown atop your house of cards, but it's still a house of cards. And now that the foundation gets knocked over, to me, the whole thing is just fell apart. And this is where I just don't understand why so many Christians in our lives are getting this pass as though they're honest people. Because it's like, how could you not notice?
It's very simple. You either believe that these events happen historically, or you just don't think that these are historical events. There's one or the other. You can say it's all metaphor, and that's fine and all. But we're talking about, if this isn't real, if the world wasn't created in 4004 BCE, and Adam and Eve did not sin in the garden, then what is the point of Jesus dying for your sins? You are destined for hell.
Amanta aka ata de bro shambro sim bro shumbro de bro shambra he bro shambra de bro shambra. Yes. Ooh, yeah, boo. Absolutely. Oh yeah, no, it's just a story about how sin entered the world. Okay, but the part about then Jesus dying for your sin and rising and you going to heaven forever, that's real. That's the real part. That's the real part based on the y'all, that's not an honest way to reason. And if we got people in our lives that don't know the basics like that, then we really ought to help them learn. We really ought to help them learn. There's a sense of shame I feel, y'all, when I'm around ignorant people and I don't say something. Maybe I feel a unique thing because I'm an educator, so it literally is my job to be concerned for my students and, you know, whether or not they're getting shit straight, right? Like, to me as an educator, like, you know, that's a precious thing you have to be in somebody's life. What is that? It's like a relationship, right? It's like if I have broccoli between my teeth, I want you to point it out so I don't run around looking like a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? If we go into an all-white party and somehow I didn't notice that part of the email chain, you show up and I'm all colored out, you know what I'm saying? If we get to the party and it's an all-white party, and I notice now you in all white, but I thought you just showed up in all white. Now I hear everybody all white. And you looking, and then you're gonna look at me, well, I just assumed you was trying to make a fashion statement. I'm about to come upside your fucking head. Why? Because you put your comfort before my need for you to help me. Like, you saw me about to make a fool of myself and you didn't say nothing, and you knew. How could you know and not tell me? See, that's why I told y'all, when I told y'all, like, I really had a heart-to-heart with my mom, and I told y'all about the parts that went really well, but when I told you about the parts that didn't go well, I didn't feel bad about it. Why? Because when we eventually come to this understanding, that's what she'll get. Is I couldn't bear to be the person in her life who knew better but wouldn't tell her. So even though it was hard for her to hear, I told her. When she comes around finally, she'll get it. Aha, I know where my son stands. I know I can count on my son, because it don't matter how, you know, upside down the truth will turn me, my son's going to give me the truth. So some of y'all that's sitting there, and it's not for me to judge your situation, but ask yourself, am I not having this heart-to-heart with this person in my life because, you know, I'm really afraid to devastate them, or is it really because I don't want to put myself in an uncomfortable situation? Because regardless of how you answer that question, I would just say consider making the opportunity to help them grow more important. It's just my take on it.
Because Adam and Eve sinned. In fact, the year 4004 BCE, we have so much archaeological data of what was happening in the world. There were cities already. There was writing systems. There was governments. There was armies. This was not a year where we see no human activity. That's not the case. We have civilization all over the globe by this time. The United States Census Bureau estimates that the world had around 7 million people in the year 4000 BCE. Another reason for the flood, for me bringing that up, Jesus himself even talks about the flood. Matthew 24:38, where he says, "For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." This is important because Jesus himself is saying that the flood occurred. If he's wrong and the flood didn't occur, that's a problem. For the year 2003.
And this is one of them things where the Christians will twist you up, because what's an apologetic for this other than he's talking about some other type of thing, but then when they get around each other, will they say he was talking about some other type of thing? You know, I would love to hear some of these apologists get asked these questions with Jesus sitting next to you. I always think about that. How would they answer these questions if like I had a little pixie Jesus sitting here next to me on my shoulder? You know, because I bet a lot of them that be trying to soft sell and stuff will be changing their tune up. But, you know, I really think this is another thing. Like, if you just get into the words of Jesus alone, that's an entire rabbit hole. What's really extrapolated? How will we know what he really said? You know, is this really somebody else's gospel reworded? You know, there's so many rabbit holes you could go down, but none of them feel authentic. You know, and they're very interesting things to sort of unravel the scholarship about. But again, really interesting how Neil's kind of doing something, you know, great good guys do, right? Like, I want to give you a hard-hitting truth, but I also want to make it, you know, part of my personal story and sort of reflect that in my own way. It's kind of like the same deal. Like, when I hear apologists kind of tap dance around these things, it disgusts me because, again, I'm always like, you see the atheist in front of you, you don't see the Christian it took to get here. Because I can still see them with my Christian eyes, whatever that means. It just isn't that long ago. I remember, you know, Christianity's still so fresh to me, especially because I stayed, you know, a worship drummer and I stayed in the culture and everything like that. And so I'll sit there and just listen to them and be like, God, do you really think that that's something that should be satisfying to a Christian? Every stone I turned over investigating these beliefs just was so thoroughly unsatisfactory. And perhaps nothing more so than the rabbit hole of the fucked up things that Jesus said. Either the anachronisms, the things that are held up to be wisdoms but then turn out to be trivialities, the things that I would now describe as sort of hateful and just downright kind of silly. You know, it just doesn't hold up, which is, and again, we always talk about this thing where Christians don't read. If only they'd read their Bible. I don't know, maybe we got to turn that corner and start to really probe a little bit further as to why they don't read the Bible. And again, I think it's that awareness of how unsatisfactory, you know, the destination would be once they start to travel down that road.
148 BC, we know from archaeology that the world had a decent population. In fact, around that time, there's probably around 25 million people living in the world. Archaeology in China, archaeology in Siberia, archaeology in Europe, Africa. There is not a single chance that the world's population started over that year. We have Sumerian tablets from in around this time talking about day-to-day functions. Nobody is talking about the world ending and starting over again. It's impossible. Not only that, even the science behind this flood, that the world that was underwater, is physically impossible because there's not even enough water to cover the highest mountain peaks. If these events didn't happen, if Adam and Eve didn't sin, if Adam and Eve aren't historical people who sinned, then Jesus dying for your sins does not even matter. If the flood didn't happen, then Jesus was wrong. Which brings me to the number 2.
All right, Neil, slow your roll. Yeah, point number 1 was a slam dunk. And when I was on Neil's channel, I was kind of trying to get at this. When I was talking to Derek, I kind of tried to get at this. I've actually talked to Rob about this, Rob Pennock, my teaching mentor. I've tried to talk to my students about this. And again, it's just honest reflection on Christianity as I know it, y'all. When I want to say something unique about what I really think the challenge of evolution is to theism, this is really it, especially with Christianity. Because again, the way I typically frame it is this. If we evolved, right, which to me, let's just say means we can explain how humans came to exist without God, okay? So if we can do that, the parsimonious view of the world is we don't need God to explain life. If God no longer has the power over life and death, then he can't save us from death. If he can't save us from death, then what the fuck did Jesus come to die for, right? You see what I'm saying? It undermines the essence of the God power, the God narrative, the salvation story, the logos of Christ, whatever. Like, he's tying it to Adam and Eve in a way that you would go, well, wait, how is that the same thing? Because of this. He's just taking it's heads and tails of the same coin. I'm saying on the naturalistic view, there's no Adam and Eve, so right? I'm just saying on the naturalistic view, there's no Adam and Eve, so we don't need God to explain life and death. The rest of the line of reasoning. He's saying, he's just starting with, if there's no Adam and Eve, right? And taking the rest from there. So that's why it resonated so strongly with me, because in that regard, it's exactly what I think about when I think about evolution. Sure, you can absolutely come up with a contorted ass version of Christianity that's compatible with evolution and any other scientific idea you want. But if you're honest about it, you're taking all the godness out of the God story. And this is why. Because you just render the whole narrative about life and death and all of that and ultimate salvation totally meaningless. And he really is trying to emphasize that not only just that little inconvenient truth, but we have a litany of examples, the flood being an easy one to pick on, that demonstrably undermines the historicity of the Old Testament. And even if you're, but that was the old law and the old covenant, and Jesus came with the new law and the new covenant and whatever, none of that undermines that the entire God origin story, so to speak, rests on the Old Testament. And if that's fictitious, then y'all already know. It's a fail. Where's my sound? You know my sound. There we go.
Is the end of the world, as I just stated.
Oh, failed end times prediction. This is reason number 2. Failed end times prediction. All right, let's go.
Jesus is comparing the end of the world.
Hey, man!
When he says that also
this makes sense.
The Son of Man shall be
Appreciate you, BS.
In Matthew 16:27, Jesus says that some of you standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. This is a flat lie, because everybody who is living in the time of Jesus is long dead. This is a clear false prediction from Jesus himself, saying that the end of the world is at hand and it will be here within some of their lifetimes. That did not happen. The Apostle Paul would even tell people in the epistles not to marry, because the world was going to end any day now. From generation to generation, from the first century till now, there has been over 200 major failed end dates from major Christian theologians, including the Pope in the year 1000 CE, in which Pope Sylvester told the world that
the infallible one,
less than 30 years remaining, and that everybody should get ready for the coming of the Son of Man, and this did not happen. To this day, Christians are still saying that there is 4 years left, 2 years left, 1 year left, and it never happens. If this isn't true, if we've gone this far and the world hasn't ended yet, does this mean Jesus was wrong? And the number one
Yeah, there's a couple things that I find really important here. Number one, I'm gonna go ahead and call this a growth opportunity for me, because y'all probably know, the mods know, y'all can roll a tape. I don't really talk about failed prophecy a lot on this channel, you know, and to be honest, I don't even watch a lot of content about it. So I've kind of been sleeping a bit on how core to all of this it really is. It's almost become a bit mundane to me. Like, of course, none of the prophecies work, right? Now, I think for me, because probably I grew up in the Christian cult, you know, mid-apologetic of why, you know, back then they believed the world would end any day now. But to be honest, there was always kind of that softish end times talk, even in sort of today's modern Pentecostalism. Like, it's not a out and avert, like, you know, making dates, right? And it's just kind of like they've gotten a little bit better at that, but there's still a little bit, it's a sign of the times, right? You'll hear that a lot. That's still very big. You know, some of the big worship ministries I follow have even named programs or albums, stuff like that, sign of the times. Like, that's a big thing in there, you know, church lingo. A lot of them, you know, really, when they want you to get swept up in the evangelical fever, you know, they sort of speak about a lost generation and all this type of stuff. So to me, there's still a lot of that flavor. I think it's just that the more mainstream folks have sort of realized that continuing to make unprofitable date predictions is probably not the way to go about it. The other thing is the whole end game of their whole deal is inherently, you know, an end times prophecy, right? It reminds me of the really famous gospel musician Israel Houghton. I know he says in this one album, if you flip to the back of the book, we win. You know, that tells you everything that the real Christians think about education, right? If you turn all the way to the back of the book, right, where the teachers, where all the answers are, we win, you know, right? But it's like they don't realize that how jolly they are to declare premature victory does really speak to this fantasizing about what to most of us is the end times. Now, what are a couple of sharper points about this that I really think I need to probably hit on a little bit more? Number one, what I call gifts of the Spirit, right? Speaking in tongues, laying on of hands, like healing power, all of these sorts of things. One of them is prophecy. And even now, many current believers believe in the gift of prophecy, that they have certain prophetic abilities or visions or wisdoms or prayers answered or whatever, foresights, if you will. At the same time, it's totally mainstream to definitely buy into the legitimacy of the practice of prophecy, at least as practiced in the Bible, to uphold the prophecies that foretold Jesus or his prophecies and whatever like that. So it's actually really important to start to speak a little bit more about, like, prophecy is not real. Just like speaking in tongues, glossolalia is not real. Just like mind reading isn't real. Just like any of these other gifts of the Spirit, so to speak, are not real manifest skills. There's no such thing as prophecy, essentially, is what we're getting at. And so there's no such thing as prophecy, even if you're talking to somebody who doesn't lean heavily on prophecy or doesn't, claim prophecy at work today, helping them understand there's no such thing as prophecy, like there's no such things as tongues and stuff like that, can help them understand the voidness of faith claims. It can really help them start to see, all that prophecy, weird Jewish blood magic stuff going on in the Bible, it's a little funky. And so, yeah, like I said, I rarely mention the word prophecy on this channel, but it's certainly the case that now that I'm thinking about it in this video here, it really is kind of a way to go for the jugular, to kind of just hit them up style, like, there's no such thing as prophecy, grow the fuck up. Additionally, again, not that I'm too into the literal words of Jesus, because I don't even know if we can even know whether or not there was even a dude, and if there was a dude, how would we know what dude really said? But certainly, so many Christians are wrapped up in the authority of the Bible, the authority of the Word, and while they'll dance and prance around most parts of the Bible, they'll damn near piss on and blow off the whole Old Testament if they need to. They'll be like, I'm not really the violent type, so when I go to Christianity buffet, I tend to skip Revelation. That part that's anti-LGBT, I tend to skip that part too, right? But they know that tap dancing on the words of Jesus is going to get them in some trouble. And so, in addition to prophecy's not real, grow the fuck up, in addition to, we need you to understand that things like prophecy and other gifts of the Spirit are not things we can really rely on, there's also this flat out aspect of Jesus lied. If you're going to tell me, because kind of cool, if you're going to tell me that we don't really know if that's what Jesus said or how he really put it, cool. But then I'm just going to tell you, if we can't understand Jesus's message from the Bible, then where do we get Jesus's message from? And if Jesus's message doesn't come from the part of the Bible where Jesus is delivering his message, then again, where do we get Jesus's messages from? And how can Jesus be the infallible Lord of Lords, perfect Savior to most ever have saviored, he was there in the beginning, he'll be there in the end, and his kingdom shall never end. But he didn't have any idea when the kingdom would come or when the kingdom would end. So the Jesus lied aspect of this is, I'm here for that. If I could throw Jesus's personal character under the bus, me, I'm here for that. What's the difference? A lot of y'all are some counter-apologetic little pussies. I'm just being honest with you. You're a little scared. Harley's Quinn, I'm hooking you up with 100,000 pocket change because you are the top donor from 2022. And as we start a new year, I just want to say thank you for all of your support. We reset the scale, so I'm not trying to be a cheapskate. That's a lot of pocket change now because we totally reset the scale. But thank you so much for all your help and support. And she may have changed account. I'll give it to the new account if she comes back, whatever she comes back at. But thanks to Stupid Her Energy, Harley's Quinn, Jay's Clown Girl for all the support. And also, she sent this clip, so let's go ahead and check this out.
Hey, there he is. Hey.
Hey guys, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, man. No. Jump on in, the water's fine.
I've been teaching the disciples all week. It's nice to actually take a break and have a little fun.
Yeah.
Cannonball!
What? Your dad just let you swim?
Really nailed that one!
Maybe it did add it. I'm not sure if that's happened before.
Oh my God! Did you see him? You got him so good. You got him so good.
Oh man. All right, let's love it. Thank you so much. All right, y'all, let's keep it rolling.
What's wrong?
Here we go. It's number one.
And the number one reason why Christianity fails is the simplest, right for the jugular. I bet you none of your Christian friends will be able to answer this question. And it's simple. What did Jesus sacrifice? Now think about this for a second. You always talk about how when you go to church, everyone's crying at Easter time because Jesus died for your sins and he sacrificed himself for your salvation. But wait a minute. Doesn't John say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind.
The video is on Gnostic Informant. Sorry, don't really like having to stop the stream like this to drop links. Informant, sorry.
Light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This is telling us that Jesus was there in the beginning. He was always there. This was always planned from the start, which not only raises the question is, why was none of this mentioned in the Old Testament? How come Moses didn't know about this? Why is Jesus not mentioned in any of Deuteronomy or Numbers or Leviticus, or giving people the foresight that the Jesus, Son of God, Messiah, would come at a certain time? No one knows about this. Did God change his mind randomly? It just doesn't make sense because, according to Christian theology, all of this was planned from the beginning, which begs the question, what did Jesus sacrifice? If it was planned from the beginning that to redeem Adam and Eve and the world from sin, God would have to take on the form of flesh, go into the world, teach people about heaven, die, and then rise. Get exalted into heaven, become the king of heaven, become the judge of the dead at the right hand of the Father, glorified. Where's the sacrifice? Who was sacrificed? What was sacrificed? To sacrifice something is to give something away that you never get back. The definition of sacrifice: the act of offering something to a deity in proposition or homage, especially the ritual slaughter of an animal or a person. The idea of sacrifice for Yom Kippur was to let free a goat into the wilderness, had the sins of Israel within it. The other goat was slaughtered in the temple as a sin offering. In the case of the New Testament, you have Jesus being taken out to be crucified, and Pontius Pilate offers the Jews one of these prisoners free, either Jesus or Barabbas, in which the Jews asked for Barabbas to be set free and Jesus to be crucified. This is a polemic against Yom Kippur, which means it probably did not happen historically, especially since the Gospel of John says that Pontius Pilate had a tradition every year to do this, when we know from the data that there is no such tradition that exists. Nothing in Josephus, nothing in Philo, nothing in Nicholas of Damascus, none of the first century Jewish writers, nothing in the Talmud. This is not historical. It is a polemic against Yom Kippur. See, the difference is Jesus is taken outside of the temple and slayed, where Barabbas is let go inside Jerusalem, which means there's a reversal happening here. It's being flipped on its head. We no longer need the temple sacrifice. We just need Jesus, who is the Redeemer of the entire world.
And this theme of reversal of expectations, reversal of status, the high become the meek shall inherit the earth, it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the gates of heaven. You followed me and worshiped me. Skirt, skirt. What? You thought you had to be my follower to get into heaven because I'm your savior? Skirt. No, you didn't give to the poor. You're done. Like you never can have it right? Because it's a fucking cult.
So with that being said, what did Jesus sacrifice?
Damn.
The answer is nothing. He didn't ever lose his life. Yes, he lost his physical body, but immediately after death, after 3 days, he was exalted into heaven and became the judge of all human beings. According to Revelation, Jesus will stand on the throne and judge the dead for their sins. This is the opposite of being sacrificed. You are one with the creator of the universe. There's nothing that you lost. And if that's your idea of a sacrifice, then I just have to wonder, is this even real? Number 3, 2, and 1 on this list are interconnected in a way. If Adam and Eve are not real historical people and the flood did not actually happen, then what is Jesus dying for? Nothing. With that being said, I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Woo! If you think there is a better example of why Christianity fails, or if you are a Christian and you think there's some 3 reasons or 1 reason why you think Christianity succeeds, leave that in the comment as well. I definitely want to read it, and I will comment. With that being said, you have just attained true gnosis.
That video was excellent. And I think that all three of those are deal breakers. Like all three of those are back-breaking points. And it's all accomplished in under 13 minutes. Every single one of those, I think, is really a back-breaking point. And what did Jesus really sacrifice? Now, I didn't really say too much in particular about the third point. And of course, all of these points are put a little bit differently than I would put them. But the way I always put it is sort of, he sacrificed himself to himself, for himself, through himself, all of that type of shit. So, you know, right there, it's nothing. Could have just came up with a better plan. Why couldn't God just forgive us? But really, someone in the chat mentioned physical pain. I think that was Jerome. And again, it's not really, you know, it's sort of like saying I'm sacrificing at the gym to get buff. Like, it isn't really a sacrifice, I don't think, if you're doing it in anticipation of a reward, right? And I think that's the bigger point here, is that there's clearly something most of us would consider a reward. And again, it isn't a sacrifice if to lose your life when you're not really losing your life. Sure, there's pain, agony, okay, but again, it's self-inflicted. It isn't a sacrifice if it's self-inflicted, right? If I push Harley's Quinn in front of a car and then I jump in front of that car to quote-unquote save her from the car, is she going to walk away and be like, my hero? Like, of course not. Now, yeah, I got ran over by a fucking car, but I'm not a hero in this situation because it's my fault that this person was in danger to begin with. This was all my idea. Now, on top of that, if it turns out the car rolls right over me, and while, yeah, it felt like a lot of pressure, I actually had a secret back plate on my backpack, and nobody knew, and then I became a national hero, and you know, nobody ever asked for, like, you know, I mean, bad enough you caused this fucking nightmare to begin with, and then if you did it so you could become a hero, exalted, I mean, no, that's, you know, again, that's like the, yeah, it's like the, you know, it reminds me of Better Call Saul, right, where he has his clients set up on people so then he can, you know, help defend the kids so they can sue people out of money where they just endangered themselves, right? It's just fucking, it's a shakedown. It's when the mob comes through and goes, oh, nice shop you got here. Be ashamed if something happened to it. Oh, no, it's a pretty nice neighborhood. It would be a shame we've, you know, got our whole lives put into this place, but the neighborhood's been great to us, right? And somehow or another, you get robbed that night, and then here they come a couple days later. Oh, it's a shame we heard what happened around here. You guys ready to talk about having somebody look out for this place yet? Right? Like, come on, man. But y'all, since we said we were going to start the new year off right, since we said we going to be about that life, what if we took this to the next level? What if we took this to the next level? In order to see what effect this video has what if in the next week each of us tries to share this with one believer in our life? And let's see what they have to say about these three things. Happy New Year, motherfuckers. Seriously, let's go, y'all. Come on, look. This is what we got to do, y'all. We got to start somewhere. Let's push the button, y'all. Y'all know me. Let's push the button. This is the year. This is the year to stop being a Christian. And I think this is a good way to go. You know, think of somebody, a believer in your life, family or friends. Reach out. Here's a line. If you need a line, here's the line. The line is, I have a friend. His name is Neil. He just made a video about Christianity. I want to know what you think about it. Right? This way, you can be honest about the fact that you've been prompted to send this to somebody so that you can help generate some feedback for Neil. All right? So look, let's go, baby. Come on, everything's more fun with a little skin in the game, y'all. Let's get a little skin in the game this year. Come on, baby. That's right. We ain't gonna normalize atheism with no work. Look, y'all, it's like racism out here. Y'all know I think Christianity is a form of hatred. So this easy, right? If all we got to do is share videos and good content, is bite size. It's not 3 hours. It's bite size. All we got to do is share it with a believer, and that's a very meaningful step to normalizing atheism. All right. So my feedback is I really think it's fantastic, but let's field test it, y'all. So let's put it out there. Everybody try to send it to somebody in the next week, and let's see what they think. Let's go. We're pushing the button, y'all. It's 2023. It's time to stop fucking around. We ain't gonna just be sitting around watching YouTube videos. If we gonna be watching YouTube videos all goddamn year this year, we gonna be getting some goddamn ammunition. Let's go. I think it was a good video, so shit, let's give it a whirl. All right. Did y'all enjoy the stream? I hope y'all have fun. I hope everybody's on their way to having a great new year. And you already know it's New Year's, baby. Get something to drink. Get something to smoke. It's time to praise the spirit of doubt up in this bitch. Woo! It's the year of atheism, motherfuckers. The new world order. The atheists don't touch. We do worship better. We do church better. We do politics better. We do sex better. We do education better. Are you getting the thing? It's just atheists do it better, motherfucker. It is time. Not last year, not 20 years ago, not next year, not 5 years from now. This year. 0, 2, 3. All right? It's time to go. Woo! Look, I appreciate y'all for watching from the basement. Y'all need to be on time next time. That's why you got put in the basement. Stop being on colored people time. Just because I'm colored, you still supposed to be here when the show starts. That shit is racist. What you mean? No. Oh, you just happen to be on top of all the white people's stream. Really? White boy say his stream start at 4:05. You be there at 3:58. I say my shit start at 4:15. You show up 4:52. You're racist. I told you I'm calling out everything this year. I don't give a fuck about nothing. You're fucking racist. Your timing, your watching habits demonstrate your systematic fucking white privilege, and you need to knock it off. You know what? Shut the. That's why your ass in the basement. Fuck out of here. Anyway, everybody can be a non-believer. This is the year to become a non-believer. You can be a non-believer. And you can be a non-believer. And up there in the balcony, you can be a non-believer. Up there, y'all can be non-believers. High rise, y'all can be non-believers. Worship team, y'all playing good as fuck. You could be non-believers, I don't really care. Y'all doing a good ass job. Woo! All right. That's fun. All right, everybody. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Have a great time. Much love. We'll see you later. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, we're going back to the holiday gathering link. Come link up with the gang. Poof!
Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too balls. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. And the game don't love like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Carl. Dick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call. It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop back and shine. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop back and shine. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
Be smoking that side. I'm tryna get high. She said that she not ready for lust. I waste my time. I got demons in my closet. I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong. They wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me when I say this. Oh my God, what a blessing. Hello Phoenix, that's my twin. I told these hoes they won't get my heart again. Not again. Cause they went missing when I needed just a friend.
They went missing, yeah, they all went missing. They don't want no smoke, they hit the blunt and started tripping. My daughter about to be 5, I ain't got no time to be bitching. I'm still reminiscing, we ain't had no food in the kitchen. I gotta go and stack. I'm waiting, no I'm heading, but I'm going out. I hit the side, now your Zach feel like I'm throwing up. And I just took another perk, cause one wasn't enough. Yeah.
It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop back and shine. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop back and shine. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna slide, we smoking Zah. Stop back and shine. Cause you a demon my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.